The story begins with an active destiny system, a dual attribute base of wood and earth, increasing the strength of wood and earth attributes. A spear genius, increasing affinity with the spear and physical strengthening. The protagonist touches a die. The die moves quickly and more notifications arrive stating that he is destined for loneliness, without friends, family, or lovers. Destined to remain alone forever, with his lifespan increased by 100 years. The protagonist gets very angry, shouting and wanting to know what the hell this means, asking what it means by being destined for loneliness, and who wants to be alone for their whole life. He slams his hand on the table and says that 11 years have passed and asks if he could pity himself and give him something good. The protagonist's name is Han Jue, and he comes from the 21 Saint Century Earth, where he was diagnosed with advanced stage cancer at 21. He didn't want to endure the long and painful treatments, so he decided to stay home and wait for his end. He downloaded an immortal cultivation game to distract himself from his body's pain, and who would have imagined that he would suddenly be eliminated while playing? After opening his eyes, he realized that he was in a world similar to ancient times on Earth. Moreover, he was inside an immortal cultivation sect, the Great Yan Dynasty, the Righteous Dao sect, the Pure Jade sect. His parents were slaves to Elder Iron of the outer sect of the Pure Jade sect, usually helping him plant and take care of herbs in his herb garden. Elder Iron forbade his slaves from cultivating, even though the spiritual herbs were like deadly poison to mortals. So, at 6 years old, his parents died, and Elder Iron didn't care, leaving him with his parents' tasks. This continued until he turned 11. However, after reincarnation, he received a powerful system that allowed him to roll his spiritual base and innate destiny once a day, and he had been rolling for nearly 10 years. So what difference does it make to wait one more day? He refuses to believe he won't get something great and is determined to get a good spiritual base and innate destiny before starting cultivation. Many days later, the protagonist is doing exercises and counting. He feels relieved that the stretching is completed and now is going to check how lucky he is today. He presses the die. The object starts spinning rapidly, and the notification says that his spiritual base is trash, 1 in a million. Han falls back, spitting a large amount of plasma. He says he knew it would be like this, but forget it. He will roll for his innate destiny first. The innate destiny, unmatched, possesses the charm of an immortal, charisma maximized, destined sword fanatic, higher aptitude and learning efficiency for the Tao of the sword, aptitude for high-level movement techniques, and after the game begins, he will receive a high-level cultivation technique and 1,000 high-level spiritual stones. Jui looks surprised and notices 4 high-level innate destinies. He shouts loudly that he hit the jackpot. He lies on the grass, smiling, and says that it feels so good to finally have some luck. Now he needs to focus on rolling his spiritual base again. And now that he has these 4 high-level innate destinies, he doesn't mind continuing to roll until he is 40. As someone who has lived 2 lives, he wants to live a fulfilling one, and doesn't want to be like those slaves who will remain trapped there for the rest of their lives. He wants to observe the world, and for sure, there will come a day when he will write his name in history, until a voice says that they must hurry and leave right now, because there are 2 eliminated people from the main sect, and they need to form a line and greet them properly. The protagonist asks what cultivators from the main sect are doing there. 2 cultivators from the main sect arrive. People look at them and say that they are such cool immortals, and if only they could be like them, how awesome that would be. Han asks why they envy this. After rolling a high-level spiritual base, he will be much stronger than them. The warrior says they will cultivate here to keep an eye on the herb garden today, and that none of them should disturb them. Jue asks about Elder Iron and what happened to him. The warrior says that a wicked cultivator appeared near the Pure Jade sect's territory, so Elder Iron had to leave the herb garden to attend to important matters, and they were sent by the outer sect to protect them and to stay calm. The protagonist feels relieved, thinking that at least while trying to get a high-level spiritual base, he will still need Elder Iron's protection. The cultivation world is never a peaceful place, and he hopes his luck will be good enough to quickly roll a high-level spiritual base, so he will have some ways to protect himself as well. The next day, a voice says that the God of Luck orders him to be given something extremely rare. The following day, the voice screams again, "Hallelujah!" saying he is the chosen one. A distressing year later, the voice once again says that it doesn't matter what religion he follows. Gods are here to bless him with luck. 2 years later, Han is sitting saying that 2 years have passed and there hasn't been even a high-level spiritual base, let alone a first-class one. And when will he be able to cultivate if this keeps happening? He wonders if he should just use an intermediate-level spiritual base to cultivate first, but then decides against it, saying that would be a waste since he was given a second chance to live, and he will live the best and most extensive life possible. Then he hears someone calling for them to hurry and greet the Lord because he has returned. Jue asks about Elder Iron and whether he finally returned after disappearing for 2 years. Elsewhere, people are all gathered, saying they greet the Lord. The elder says that they did a great job while he was away and thanks them for taking care of the place. They reply that it's what they must do, and being able to serve the Lord is an honor. The protagonist thinks it's a bunch of sycophants, but no matter how good their praises are, the elder won't give them any benefits. The Lord calls the four over and they respond that they understand. People are curious about why the Lord specifically called them, and one of them responds that maybe he wants to assign them to a certain area of the garden. Iron tells them to show their hands because he wants to check their spiritual base levels. Han asks about the spiritual bases and wonders why now. Wasn't it him who forbade the slaves from cultivating? And why is he going back on his decision now? Then, Jue notices something. Seeing plasma on his clothes, he asks if he was injured. The elder tells him to show his hands. The protagonist shows them and thinks that he's sure something is wrong, and wonders if he plans to refine them into pills to recover from his injuries. The Lord says that he has no spiritual base and tells them to bring in the next one. Han thinks it was a good thing he hadn't used the system to cultivate yet, otherwise he would be doomed. Iron says that the next one has a spiritual base and will accept him as his disciple and take him to train, asking if he accepts. The boy quickly responds that yes, he accepts. People say that Zhang, that damn lucky one, he must have used up a lifetime's worth of luck, and he will become an immortal in the future, completely different from them. Jui says they're a bunch of idiots, asking about immortals and saying he fears he will never be able to return after passing through those doors. The world of immortal cultivation is extremely dangerous, and only when he has absolute power will he be safe. He needs to get a high-level spiritual base quickly and start cultivating. Then, another 3 years passed. The protagonist begins shouting and jumping excitedly. He says that the spiritual physique of the 6 paths is finally his. Now that everything is ready, he wonders what he's waiting for and says that he's going to start cultivating. Then he pauses, realizing he forgot that the elder is still watching them. After Zhang was taken by him, he never returned, and he bets he was refined into a pill. If they find out he can cultivate, he can already imagine what they'll do to him. Then another notification arrives saying that he can choose a small area and the system will help create an isolated world, and cultivators outside this isolated world will not be able to sense the changes inside. Han asks about creating an isolated world and says, now that's more like it, and this system is so cool, so if it's going to be like this. He clicks on attributes. He says to himself that today he will officially take a step on the cultivation path. Then, lights of different colors are released. Jue appears in another place, surrounded by blue. The protagonist, born as a mortal within an immortal sect, grew with incredible charisma and was loved by all, even though his parents abandoned him at 6. He feels there is an ineffable destiny on his shoulders, awakened an inheritance from an immortal emperor, and received the supreme rank cultivation technique, the 6 paths of reincarnation, officially taking a step on the cultivation path. Han asks which one he should choose. Thinking it over, he realizes that the technique of the 6 paths of reincarnation should somehow cultivate all 6 elements at once, and choosing only one seems like a huge waste, so he chooses the sword cultivator path as the best decision. Jue becomes thoughtful and chooses what he desires. The cultivation begins, and an energy is released around his body. The protagonist asks if this is what it feels like to cultivate, saying he's warming up and feeling full of energy. And as soon as he takes a step on the cultivation path, thousands of years will pass in an instant, impossible to reverse. So have discipline, and his attributes are as follows. Han observes and notices that there are more options now. He asks what this relationship tab is. He sees that the elder's profile is marked with hatred and calls him a jerk, saying he wasted so many years tending to the garden and still hates him. The hate he feels for him must be because of his parents' escape, but it's not like he did anything against him. Moreover, in these past years, the elder disappeared again, and who knows where he went. So he thinks he can cultivate in peace. He decides not to waste time and to start cultivating right now. Jue gestures with his hand and says that he will leave this place as soon as he reaches the 9th stage of qi refining. Then he will see what that old man can do against him. Several particles float around the environment. The protagonist wonders if these light spots are what they call spiritual qi, and thinks that he can only feel the presence of wind, earth, wood, and the spiritual qi of water. There's no qi of fire or thunder. He decides to focus on these 4 to start. The system notifies that he has taken the first step in cultivation, and he can choose from the following development paths, and will receive equipment for the qi refining realm, and gain the ability to hide his cultivation level, spiritual base, and potential. Han wonders if he can hide his cultivation, spiritual base, and potential, and thinks that this system is really pampering him now. He smiles and says that of course he will choose the second option. 2 years later, still in the same place, people are tending to the crops. Jue says that using the earth spiritual qi to nourish the wood spiritual qi and create a growth cycle, using the water spiritual qi to water the plants, and the wind spiritual qi to clear the bad air, and to make the precious spiritual herbs grow healthily, he uses his mana on the plants. He says he has already reached the 7th stage of qi refining by practicing these 4 types of qi. The protagonist asks if no one saw him and says to stop for today. The people greet him and ask how the harvest was today. He responds with a good morning and says the harvest was very good. The girls swoon when he walks by and say that they should look at him because he's not only handsome, but also really good at cultivating the spiritual herbs, and they want to marry him. Han thinks that since he started cultivating, his charm attributes have started to show their effects, and he's not sure if it's a blessing or a curse to have a high-level profile, and wonders why the system can't help him hide this too. Someone calls for him and it's Xing. She tells him to follow her for a moment. They walk. Ju thinks that he has been staying there to protect the herb garden in the elder's place, but she has never interacted with the slaves before. He wonders why she suddenly brought him here and asks the system to show the relationship with her. The system shows that it's 2 stars of acceptance. He thinks it's strange, as he had never interacted with her before today, and wonders why the acceptance is at 2 stars. He doesn't want to say that she's attracted to his charm, thinking that this can't happen in just a day or two. She must have been watching him for quite some time. His charm is starting to cause problems, but he wants to know what she wants from him, and if it's to turn him into a cultivation furnace, dual cultivation, and thinks he's starting to get a little anxious to find out what this is about. The redhead says he doesn't need to be nervous, as she only wants to ask if he plans to be a slave there for the rest of his life. The protagonist says she must be testing him, and asks who would want to be a slave for their whole life. However, he's been there since he was born, and still has elder iron. Xing wants to know if he can help her with something, and says she will help him cultivate and get rid of his mortal identity, asking what he thinks. Han asks about the instructions, and she replies that he should help her get the alchemy recipe from iron, and she will take him along to the demonic cult. And if his aptitude is good, she wouldn't even mind becoming his Tao companion. Juo mutters in his thoughts that this lady is from the demonic cult. He wonders about the demonic cult and what kind of joke this is, because if he offends the pure Jade sect, he will be hunted to the ends of the earth. And if he refuses the offer, she will definitely eliminate him to silence him. And he's deep in the forest. The elder is not at the herb garden, and it won't matter even if he shouts with all his strength. The redhead tells him not to worry, as there is still time for him to consider, and she can wait for him. The protagonist thinks that both of them are at the 7th realm of qi refining, but have never learned any magic and don't possess a weapon, so she must have some tricks up her sleeve. He can't defend against brute strength. He says he doesn't know the location of this thing, and besides, he still has the companion guarding the Lord's attic. There's no cultivation involved. Xing moves her hand quickly and knocks him down, saying that of course she knows it's in the elder's attic, and that old man went out looking for herbs. She bets he won't return in the next few years. As for the guard, there's no need to worry about him. Once she drives him away, she'll go in and search for the alchemy recipe, asking what he thinks, saying it's not that difficult. Han's eyes widen in shock. The redhead says that for safety, this pill can help him unlock his spiritual base and will help him move more easily, and tells him to eat it and consider it a welcome gift. Jue thinks that this welcome gift is nonsense and wonders if it's some damn lethal poison. Xing opens his mouth and forces the pill into it, making him swallow. She says he's a good boy, and after his task is completed, she'll prepare him to be her husband. The protagonist thanks her and mentally calls her a bitch. Elsewhere, he wishes the system would expel the pill from his body. Han vomits, and the pill comes out with it. He thinks she's waiting for him, as she will never let him get away with it, but for now, he needs to think about what to do and whether he should obey that bitch. The people from the demonic cult never stop until their goal is achieved, and even if he helps her, nothing good will come of it, and it might even make things worse. Notifications arrive saying that he was threatened by the demonic cultivator, and he has the following choices: steal the alchemy recipe, gain her favor, and receive a 5-star hatred rating from the Pure Jade sect, or challenge her and prevent her from obtaining the alchemy recipe. After she leaves, he'll receive the sword technique, the unparalleled Divine Qi Sword. Jue wonders if this is even a system mission, and thinks that maybe he'll even be rewarded for not helping her, and wonders what's so hard to decide. He thinks that the two of them are incompatible. Then the place goes silent and the protagonist hears a noise. Someone at the window says they discovered the alchemy recipe is in the study room and will take the guard away from the elder's attic for a while so he can use this time to go there and search. He replies that he understands. Xing also tells him to remember that the attic has various protections, and if anything happens, the elder will come at him with everything he has, so there's not much time, and he needs to act quickly. Han doesn't respond. Elsewhere, Jue observes the eliminated body and thinks that this witch is definitely brutal. Even though this cultivator's Tao isn't the same as hers, they were still associated. And how can she blatantly eliminate him? He says to rest since he doesn't even know his name. Then a voice says that she was the one who went that way and tells them to chase her and inform the elder. That damn witch is too fast, and she managed to mobilize all these people to get away. He'll just act against his will for a while. The protagonist opens the door and quickly goes out searching. He wonders what kind of joke this is, saying that this warehouse is so big and how he's supposed to find it. Even if it were easier for that witch to sneak around and search for the recipe, and if she insisted on this problem, he wonders if she's got a screw loose. He says that people are really different from one another. Even the brush used by the elder is made of gold, while they, the slaves, can barely feed themselves, and damn that rich, evil landowner. Xing appears at the window and asks what he's complaining about and if he found the alchemy recipe. Han answers that he hasn't yet, and there's so much here he has no idea where to start searching. The redhead asks if he's been relaxing. He replies that he hasn't and wouldn't do that, and that his loyalty to her can be witnessed by the heavens and earth. He would never do that. Xing tells him to stop with the nonsense, and she saw everything. In any case, she's already eliminated a bunch of people. It doesn't matter if she adds more to the list, and asks how he dares to betray her. Jue says no and tells her to let him explain first, as he leans on the object on his back. A glass falls from above. They both look attentively. They notice that the glass is broken, and inside is the alchemy recipe. The protagonist looks at it and thinks it's hopeless, wondering how she could hide something so important like this. He thinks he's screwed because as soon as she gets her hands on this alchemy recipe, she will eliminate him. The redhead hugs him and says that as expected from him, he's truly a lucky charm. She never imagined someone with his behavior could be so romantic. Han says that as long as she's happy and wonders what he should do, since the alchemy recipe is now in her hands, and his unparalleled divine chi sword is gone. Jue thinks that her breathing seems unstable and believes she used up a lot of energy distracting and leading those people away. He wonders if he should make a surprise attack. He picks up a piece of an object and is about to strike her when she asks how to open it. Xing looks to the side and an extreme energy quickly attacks them both, destroying everything around. The Lord says it's very audacious and asks how she dares to steal the alchemy recipe. The redhead asks when the elder returned. Iron says he came back a long time ago and was just waiting for her to show herself. The last time he returned, he had seen the two of them. For all these years, no other disciples had accepted her mission. Only the two of them had worked on it, and there must be something wrong with this. The elder tells her to prepare to be eliminated and attacks her again with his energy. Xing thinks she fell right into his trap and used up too much energy distracting those people. If she fights the elder in her current state, she'll definitely be defeated. The alchemy recipe remains in the elder's hands, and her chances of getting it back are almost zero, so for now, she has no choice but to flee. She jumps out the window and tells him not to think this is the end of the world. The Lord says that if it weren't for the demonic cultivator's excellent escape arts, she wouldn't have been able to escape today. The protagonist lying on the ground says that it hurts, and that he finally came back and almost got eliminated trying to hold that witch back. Iron asks about holding her back and whether they weren't accomplices. He tells him to explain what happened. After some time, still in the same place, the elder asks if he was really used and actually believed she wanted to get engaged and take him as her husband, saying that's a joke. Jue tells him to stop talking about it, thinking it was close, and he doesn't think the elder noticed that he was just acting, so now he won't be held responsible for this crime. The Lord says that's enough and tells him to go sleep, to which the protagonist responds that he understands. He runs off and notices that another notification has arrived. It says that since he didn't help her steal the alchemy recipe, he managed to obtain the sword technique, and he gets excited, saying thank God he finally has a technique that might save him one day. 2 years later, Mana is being released by Han, and he says that even though it's not considered a sword technique, but rather a spell, it's convenient to use for cutting wood. He picks up some pieces of wood and says that demonstrating his skill from time to time won't be a problem, as this will be the last time he cuts wood, and he must leave this place soon, as the herb garden can no longer help him with his cultivation. Over these 2 years, he cultivated the 4 spiritual bases to the 9th level of the Qi refining realm. Only the thunder and fire spiritual bases remain. As long as he cultivates them to the 9th level of Qi refining, he will be able to advance to the foundation establishment realm, but he has been unable to find any spiritual Qi of thunder or fire around the herb garden. It won't be hard to sneak out of the herb garden, even though the elder is blocking his path. He can still leave unscathed. People are saying that the Lord went out looking for herbs again to extend his lifespan, and that they feel the elder has been leaving often recently, perhaps signaling that his time is running out. Jue observes and thinks that changes in the environment are just as important for the elder as they are for him. He's leaving this place to increase his lifespan and become stronger. He bids farewell to the 20 years spent in this place, and a new life is beginning. Elsewhere, the protagonist recalls that the herb garden is affiliated with the Pure Jade sect, and taking advantage of the influence of an external member like the elder, a slave like him can also be considered a member of the sect, so he can cultivate here. Unless he accidentally runs into the elder, his identity won't be discovered by others. The warriors ask who he is and tell him to show his sect pass. Han introduces himself, giving his name, and says that he's a cultivator, currently at the 9th level of Qi refining, and asks if there's any way to join the Pure Jade sect. They're surprised to hear that he's at the 9th level of chi refining and tell him to wait a moment. They will send someone to inform them about this. Someone arrives and says they don't need to worry as they are leaving now, and if he heard correctly, the person said he's at the 9th level of chi refining and would like to join the sect. The person introduces himself as Yang Luo, the guardian of the outer sect of the pure Jade sect, and asks if he can take a look at his spiritual energy, as in recent years, demonic cultivators have occasionally tried to infiltrate the pure Jade sect. He asks if he could show his spiritual energy. Jue agrees and shows his unparalleled divine chi sword, striking the rocks nearby. The people around look surprised, and the guardian wonders if he's really only at the 9th level of chi refining. He thinks that this obviously wasn't a sword technique, and it seemed more like a spell, which isn't too shocking for someone at that cultivation level. He also thinks the purity of his spiritual energy is not low, unlike those demonic cultivators. The guardian says it won't be a problem and tells him to follow him as he will take him to the outer sect for registration. From now on, he is a disciple of the outer sect of the pure Jade sect. He thanks him for his trouble. They enter, and the protagonist asks how many disciples there are in the outer sect and what the conditions are for entering the inner sect. Yang answers that there are over 2,000 disciples in the outer sect, and only those who have reached the foundation level can enter the inner sect. However, it's a challenge to reach the foundation level. Every 3 years, the sect holds a competition, and the top 3 receive foundation pills, which can help those at the 9th level of chi refining advance to the foundation establishment realm. Han asks if there are many disciples in the inner sect. Luo replies that he's not sure, as the inner sect of the pure Jade sect is located in an isolated place. Even those from the outer sect have no idea what happens there. Jue says that it seems like the pure Jade sect is very powerful. The guardian says of course it is, as the pure Jade sect is a consecrated sect with a lot of prestige in the Great Yan. The protagonist asks if the pure Jade sect has places for cultivating the spiritual chi of thunder and fire. Yang answers that there are no such places in the outer sect, but perhaps the inner sect does. He asks if the protagonist has the thunder spiritual base. He says that if he does, he can appeal to the Elders' Hall, and they might make an exception and allow him to enter the inner sect, since having such a spiritual base is rare, and it should be enough for the sect to educate him personally. Han asks if, assuming he has the thunder spiritual base, he can ask him to refer him. He releases his energy and says that if he enters the inner sect, he won't forget his kindness. Luo's eyes widen, and he says there's no problem. He will make an exception to help him, and will explain the situation to the Elders' Hall so he can directly enter the inner sect. Jui thanks him and says he's very grateful. In the Elders' Hall, the Guardian says that there is a non-affiliated cultivator at the 9th level of Chi refining, waiting to join the Pure Jade sect. An old man says to proceed with the process, and that they will begin by checking his spiritual base. Yang asks to wait a moment and asks if the first elder is present. The old man replies that he is not yet. The protagonist thinks he can't see the cultivation level of that elder and wonders if he might be at the foundation establishment realm. He checks his base, and if so, his 6 elemental attributes will not be discovered. He thinks that having 6 elemental attributes is extremely high level and it won't be a good thing. He asks the system to suppress them and reveal just a little, enough for them to advance without being noticed. Luo says that this person has the thunder spiritual base and asks for him to be allowed to enter the inner sect. The old man asks if it's true and says that's rare. The Guardian tells him to show his thunder. Han shows his thunder, fire, and wind spiritual bases. He also shows a bottle of Qi condensation pills, the Sect Pass, a storage bag, 100 low-level spiritual stones, and the Taoist robe of the Pure Jade sect. The old man says he has reported this matter to the first elder. Once he returns, he will take him to the inner sect. Yang says to rest for a bit and he will inform him of any updates. Jue says that unintentionally he managed to get special treatment and hopes this won't interfere with his cultivation. He thanks the old man for choosing a good place for his room, and before the first elder returns, he will train his fire spiritual Qi to the 9th level of Qi refining. Cultivating this is very pleasant. Normally, cultivators only cultivate one technique, and most cultivation techniques possess a single elemental attribute. A cultivator with a hexa elemental attribute like the protagonist needs much more hard work to make a realm breakthrough. Fortunately, he has a high-level base that covers this flaw, and he doesn't feel the slightest bit tired from cultivating. He almost only feels the sensation of becoming stronger, more precisely, the feeling of his lifespan being increased. Since the moment he first saw the attributes window, only one thing has crossed his mind: to live a long life. In his past life, he didn't care about his body, staying up late browsing the internet. In the end, he was diagnosed with a terminal illness when he was young, and only then did he realize the importance of life. Maybe there wouldn't be a third life. Han doesn't seek fame or fortune, and he doesn't seek beauty. He just wants to live for a long time. After some time, the Guardian opens the door and apologizes for making him wait for 6 months. The first elder has finally returned. Then he notices something and asks if he's really saying that the protagonist didn't leave the room, and was cultivating all this time, thinking that his aura has become much stronger. Jue, with a large aura surrounding him, asks if 6 months have passed already. In the Elder's Hall, the protagonist greets the First Elder, who says that his fire spiritual base has improved a lot, and it seems like he has been cultivating diligently during these 6 months. The Guardian confirms that this is true, stating that the protagonist hasn't stepped out of the room for 6 months, and he might even become an elite disciple. The First Elder says that to join the inner sect, he will need a master. The inner sect has a total of 18 peaks and 18 elder missionaries, and if any of them accepts him, he can directly become a disciple of the inner sect. If there's no one, then he can participate in the outer sect competition and fight to reach the Foundation establishment realm as soon as possible. Han says that this disciple understands. A voice says to go ahead. The First Elder says he almost forgot to remind him of one thing. The Masters and Elders of the Peaks have different personalities, and their cultures are also different. Some are competitive, some cultivate in seclusion, and others are on external missions all the time. He asks what kind of training style he would like to join. Jue says he prefers to be discreet, doesn't like crowds, and doesn't want to be in the spotlight. The First Elder looks at him and says that then the Jade Serenity Peak will suit him, and he will definitely love that place. They continue moving, and the protagonist says it's enormous. The First Elder says that in front of them is the inner sect of the Pure Jade Sect. In front of them, there are mountains with cultivators flying on swords. The First Elder says that there's no need to envy, as he will be able to learn this in the second internal test. He says he can look over there. That place is the inner sect of the Pure Jade Sect, where he will be able to receive missions and collect wages. He can also perform exchanges there. Han says he underestimated the power of the Pure Jade Sect, thinking it was a small sect like those in cultivation dramas. He never imagined it would be this big. He apologizes for his doubts and asks what this cultivation drama is, saying he's never heard of it before. The First Elder tells him to be careful, as if he falls from there, he'll lose his life even if he's at the 9th level of Qi refining. Elsewhere, the First Elder says they have finally arrived at Jade Serenity Peak. Jue says he never thought that of the 18 peaks, Jade Serenity Peak would be the most inferior and desolate. The First Elder confirms and says that the number of disciples at Jade Serenity Peak is the smallest. It's not without reason, as the Elder Master of Jade Serenity Peak is the fairy Zhuan, and her cultivation level is unfathomable. She also likes to cultivate in seclusion and prefers silence, which is why Jade Serenity Peak isn't lively. Moreover, she forbids her disciples from developing feelings for each other and becoming companions. The protagonist, trembling, asks if that's really true and says, "That's great." He smiles eerily and says that Jade Serenity Peak is so suitable for him, as he was afraid of being disturbed while cultivating. He thinks that now he can cultivate freely, and when it comes to companions, he just needs to wait until his cultivation reaches a phenomenal stage. Then he can consider having some to train with. The First Elder thinks that he's a good boy, and this little cultivator has a future. After some time, a voice is presenting Han. It's the First Elder, who also says that he is a non-affiliated cultivator with a triple spiritual base and a rare thunder spiritual base. During his inquiries about him, he prefers peace and tranquility and doesn't want fame. He asks what the others think. The fairy asks if he is willing to join the Jade Serenity Peak and not concern himself with worldly matters, just cultivating with all his strength. Someone arrives saying that Jade Serenity Peak finally has a decent new brother. It's Chang, and the system notifies that she finds him handsome, and to look at her, considering. Jue notices there are only 2 stars of acceptance, and wonders if his charm is that bad. He says that as long as there are more instructions, he can enter seclusion and stay for 100 years, noticing that the acceptance dropped by 1 star. The fairy says she finds it interesting and asks if he knows any spells, telling him to attack her because she wants to see his skill level. The protagonist says that in that case, he will go all out. He releases his energy toward her. The fairy blocks it. Yue thinks he can do all this, and it's not bad. Her acceptance of him increases, but now it's only 1 star. The fairy asks if that's the only skill he has, and Han replies that it is. Xuan says this sword technique isn't bad, and from now on, he can stay at Jade Serenity Peak. The First Elder says he won't bother him anymore, that he's leaving, and is looking forward to his accomplishments. The fairy stares at him. Jui wonders why she's staring at him like that. Chang says she's waiting for him to become her disciple. The protagonist immediately bows and says that he greets his master and wishes for her to live for tens of thousands of years. The fairy thinks it wasn't necessary to exaggerate like that and asks if he thinks she's an empress. She tells the girl to take her younger brother to register at the inner sect and help him settle into his cave residence. Yue responds that she understands and pulls him along. She asks if he knows how to fly on a sword. Han replies that he still needs to learn. Zhuan thinks this boy has excellent appearance and temperament, and his character isn't bad either. Elsewhere, smoke moves, and Chang introduces herself, saying he can also call her older sister. As he's a newcomer, he's free to ask her for help if he doesn't know something. Ju thanks her, saying he won't cause any trouble, but if she needs help, she can call him anytime. Yue says he's so kind and thinks she must protect this younger brother and not let him be bothered because such a good boy is hard to find around here. It's been exactly 5 years, and she wonders if anyone can understand how she's endured because within all of Jade's Serenity Peak, he's her only younger brother and his attitude and personality are perfect for her taste. It's just too good. The protagonist thinks that Jade's Serenity Peak is different from its reputation and wonders why all the female disciples seem like hungry wolves. They enter a cave and Chang says to go ahead. This is his cave residence, and it's right next to hers. He can cultivate freely. He thanks her. Han feels relieved and says, that's what she said, but the inner sect really exceeded his expectations. He thinks that since he started cultivating, this is the first time he's felt intimidated. The deeper his cultivation gets, the more he can feel the disproportion. This time, the power difference is huge, and it's making him anxious. His master is a soul-nurturing cultivator, one level beyond his imagination. At that time, the first elder gave him a lesson, and even though he's in the Foundation establishment realm, halfway to the Golden Core, he can only become the first elder of the outer sect. The cultivator absorbs the spiritual chi of heaven and earth directly into their dantian, used to strengthen the bones and increase the physical constitution of the individual. Once the cultivator absorbs enough spiritual chi to fill the dantian, the chi is compressed until it merges with the dantian. In this realm of spiritual energy, a spiral is formed and condensed to become a solid pill. The soul-nurturing realm, when there's enough vital essence, chi, and spiritual energy, is poured into the golden core until it shatters. Thus, the soul-nurturing emerges, and the cultivator can use the soul-nurturing to break the heavens and earth, naturally gaining immeasurable power. From what he knows, only the founder of the pure Jade sect is above the soul-nurturing realm, but he left years ago and hasn't returned. This means the fairy is the strongest cultivator he's encountered so far. Jui thinks she's a strong pillar he can trust. Before he strengthens himself, he needs to depend on his master. Who knows what kind of danger awaits them out there? Luckily, he came to the Pure Jade sect to become stronger, to live a long life. He must focus on achieving a secure life before thinking about these worldly matters. He doesn't think it's time to lament. For now, he should cultivate his fire spiritual base to the 9th level, as he has excellent support and will do his best so as not to disappoint her. The system notifies that he has successfully become an inner sect disciple of the Pure Jade sect and needs to choose between gaining reputation points and guiding Jade's Serenity Peak to become the strongest peak, or remaining discreet and cultivating. The protagonist doesn't quite understand and says he will do his best to gain recognition, asking if this shouldn't be a good thing and says his master is strange. 3 years later, Han thinks he has cultivated enough and that it's time to learn how to fly on a sword or else it will be hard to move around the inner sect, and he can't keep asking his older sister every time he needs to descend the peak. He throws the book and gets on the sword, saying that learning the flying sword technique is very easy, and he has talent with high-level swords and can learn just by looking. And that's the advantage of having high-level providence. Unlike that brother Shuang something, putting a fence around the sword, someone calls for him. It's the fairy, saying he really is remarkable, having cultivated in isolation for 3 years. Jue greets her and says that this disciple needs help with something. His wind and fire bases have been cultivated to the 9th level of chi refining, and he hopes his master can guide him on how to cultivate his thunder spiritual base. The fairy asks if he wants to cultivate a triple chi foundation. He replies yes and thinks that it's not just 3, he's cultivating 6 paths. Zhuan says she fears she can't help. The protagonist looks surprised and asks if he can know why. The fairy replies that specializing in just one type of spiritual chi is already extremely difficult, leaving aside the fact that he will face a strong celestial tribulation in the future. The time spent cultivating would also be wasted. Han thinks what she says makes sense, and possessing these spiritual bases has its own cost, but his master doesn't expect him to have his own ways. He bows and says this disciple understands, but believes that with his determination, he can succeed, and he is willing to dedicate all his time to cultivating. The fairy smiles and says he can use the inner sect's teleportation formation and go to the Thunder Spirit Well. He thanks her for the guidance and will go there right away. At the Thunder Spirit Well, there is a circle in the center, releasing intense energies. Jue says the Pure Jade sect is truly generous, and he didn't expect the Thunder Spirit Well to be like this. Recently, he imagined it resembled more of a fish pond. Even from this distance from the teleportation formation, he can feel the intense thunder spiritual chi emanating from the other side. He decides to go and take a look. He thinks that as expected of the Thunder Spirit Well, its purity is enormous. If he cultivates near the center, his thunder spiritual chi will jump directly to the 9th level, something the fire spiritual chi could never achieve in such speed. He wonders why only one person is cultivating in such a big place. It seems people with thunder spiritual bases are really rare. A voice tells him not to walk inside the Thunder Spirit Well, as he can only cultivate around the well, or he may be struck by lightning and lose his life. He was warned. The protagonist starts screaming desperately, and the voice asks why he's screaming, asking if he's never seen a handsome man like himself. Han replies that yes, and that he's so handsome that the light almost disappeared from his eyes. The voice says that at least he's kind with his words, and to feel free to choose any place to cultivate, but not to stay too close to the center. Ju thinks that he imagined he would meet a tree spirit. The pure Jade sect must have spent a fortune. They even have a tree spirit. Anyone should know that the tree spirit is also called a cultivation catalyst treasure. The tree spirit may seem demonic, but just cultivating near it doubles your efficiency. It's an extraordinary treasure, and if he could plant one, it seems like his thunder spiritual chi could be cultivated to the 9th level. He came to the right place. The protagonist gets excited and says that starting from scratch, he will cultivate to the 9th level in 1 year. The boy watching asks if he heard that right and wonders if he's serious. He thinks it's impossible for him. His purity is too low. No matter how arrogant he is, there's a limit when it comes to cultivation. No one can reach the maximum level in a year, and with this attitude, he won't go far. A year later, the boy thinks he should take back what he said, and this person, it's insane. Han, with a terrifying aura surrounding him, thinks that the day has finally come. His chi cultivation paths are completed, and he can now move on to the Foundation establishment. His master was worried that the celestial tribulation would be too strong if he cultivated multiple spiritual bases, and she didn't know that the cultivation method he used had already been recorded. The method to divide the tribulation, around him the mana grows more intense. The tree asks if this is the thunder tribulation for advancing through Foundation establishment. But what the hell, he really knows how to pick his spots. The boy asks what she means by that, and the tree responds that he shouldn't ascend there. The thunder spirit well will combine with the thunder tribulation and double its power, and he needs to move away quickly to avoid unnecessary damage. The boy says that in that case, he won't, and the tree says that even if they wanted to save him, they can't, as the tribulation cloud has already been triggered. A great lightning bolt is released from the sky, heading straight for Jue. He blocks it with his shield. The two look at each other in confusion. The protagonist says it's just lightning, and he'll turn it into energy for his Foundation establishment. The ways to divide the tribulation: absorb the lightning coming from the celestial tribulation, and convert it into the purest spiritual chi to create a barrier that will help defend against the impact. He absorbs it. A very strong light is emitted, and a voice asks what kind of cultivation method this is. It's not sure, but whatever the method, it seems he succeeded in advancing to Foundation establishment. 2 years later, a voice says that he needs to pay 100 high-level spiritual stones for using the Thunder Spirit Well for 3 years, and thanks him for his sponsorship. Han walks and initially planned to strengthen his cultivation after the advancement, but reaching the 3rd level of Foundation establishment was a surprise, and his lifespan is almost 200 years. Staying there makes him feel good. More notifications arrive. Jue wonders how much his master likes to cultivate in secret. Someone behind him says that in just 2 years, he reached the 3rd level of Foundation establishment, and among the entire inner sect, he could be considered one of the best. The person introduces himself as Mo Fuchu from the Heavenly Thunder Peak and asks if he can know his name. The protagonist thanks him for the compliment and introduces himself, saying he's from Jade Serenity Peak. Mo asks about a disciple from Jade Serenity Peak and says that with his talent, joining Jade Serenity Peak would be a waste, asking what he thinks about going to the Heavenly Thunder Peak. He says his master is a thunder cultivator. Han replies that he has already recognized Fairy Zhuan as his master, and by becoming his master, she will forever be his guardian. And he asks how he could easily change his family. He thanks him for his kindness. Fuchu says it's fine and there's still a chance, and hopes he thinks carefully about it. Jue's eyes widen. In a cave, a voice says there's nothing there and tells them to search another cave. The subordinates say that the elder ordered that whoever captures the traitor will be rewarded. Xing is hiding and listening. They report that there is no sign of the target there, and the redhead thinks that she has finally gotten rid of the lower iridescent cult and wonders where she should go now. She thinks the problem is her identity. She will undoubtedly be pursued by everyone wherever she goes, and if she wants to change her life and become a better person, only that one person will believe in her, since that was the first time someone protected her, her love, Han. The bird emits a sound saying it's in the bushes. Xing's eyes widen. She jumps, and they tell her to stop right there, and no matter the methods, they must not let the sinner escape. Elsewhere, the system notifies that his friend, Xing, is being hunted by the Pure Jade sect and is badly injured, having barely escaped. The protagonist thinks that they haven't seen each other in so many years, and he never imagined she was still alive. They haven't met again, and he wonders how the hell she has such a favorable impression, and if there's something wrong with her head. He thinks that besides that, the system has something like a character activity log feature, and wonders how many functions this system has. Its origin doesn't seem simple, and the system doesn't want to harm him since it's been years. Whatever, he'll continue cultivating and start with his spiritual base, until he notices something. A loud sound is emitted, Han quickly goes outside and asks if it's the sound of a bell and if something happened. Chang says it's been a long time, and that's exactly what it is, the sound of the bell, and they'll go greet their master together. She asks if he's in Foundation establishment, and he replies that he was lucky. Yue wonders what this is, as she can no longer feel his cultivation now. She thinks to herself that she's at the second level of Foundation establishment, and wonders if that doesn't mean her cultivation is at least at the third level, and what kind of absurd speed this is. She thinks she needs to hurry and cultivate. She can't lose to her younger brother and even made a promise to protect him. How can she honor her reputation as an older sister now? Chang, very frustrated, says she has no time to waste and explains on the way. Jue wonders why she seems to be in such a hurry. Elsewhere, a voice says that Jade Serenity Peak usually doesn't ring the bell, and when the bell is rung, it means the master wants to meet with all of her disciples. Yue, on top of her sword, says that in all these years, this is the first time the bell has rung, and that's why she never mentioned it to him before. He, on top of his sword, thanks her for telling him and wonders about the calling of all disciples, hoping it's not something problematic. In another location, many disciples are gathered, and a voice says that apparently there are spies from the inferior iridescent cult within the sect, and they must be cautious when recruiting new disciples. These spies from the inferior iridescent cult don't even cultivate demonic techniques. The inferior cult is becoming more arrogant, and they always cross paths with people from this cult when they go out to train, and they are very arrogant. The people look back, greatly impressed by someone's elegance and beauty. It is the protagonist arriving at the location. They ask when this younger brother came from the Jade Peak and why they had never seen him before, and that he must break the prohibition of the Jade Serene Peak for lust. They believe he is the younger brother, and the girl next to him is the master who recently took him in. A young man introduces himself as the first disciple of the Jade Serene Peak, Liu Sangxin. And since the master prefers to cultivate in silence, many matters of the peak are handled by him. In the future, if anything needs to be resolved, he can be contacted at any time. Han thanks him, and he replies that it's no trouble. The fairy tells everyone to sit down, and she called everyone together this time because the sect leader has made a decision. From now on, the 3 peaks that were placed in the lowest positions in the peak fighting competition must choose 10 disciples to join the fight against the inferior cult. Over the years, the cult has been sending spies to scheme against the Pure Jade sect, and this time, they've decided to counterattack. Jui thinks that from the looks of his older brothers, it doesn't seem like they should worry about the outcome of this, and wonders if by sending the 3 peaks that were placed in the lowest positions, they are trying to eliminate or help the enemy. The fairy says that she is not concerned with the ranking, but that this issue involves the inferior cult, and the Pure Jade sect definitely has a grudge against them, so they should pay attention when choosing their missions and remember to contribute to the sect. Lu says not to worry, as the Jade Serene Peak may value discretion, but it still contributes to the sect. Recently, the sect leader developed a program to train exceptional disciples. The disciples will be trained together to become the ace of the younger generation of the Pure Jade sect. As for who was chosen, he wonders if this program was specifically designed for a first disciple like himself. Zhuan says that regarding who was chosen, Han joined the peak a few years ago, but he has already cultivated from the 9th level of the Qi refining realm to the 3rd level of the Foundation establishment realm and can be called a prodigy. She asks what he thinks about joining the sect's training program. Everyone is shocked, and they start commenting among themselves about why she didn't let the older brother go. Regardless of power or talent, the older brother would be the best choice since the younger brother just arrived, and yet he can join the training program, even being hand-picked by the master. The protagonist stands up and calls for the master, saying that he thanks her for the favor but only wishes to remain at the Jade Serene Peak and cultivate in silence. Moreover, he is just a newcomer, and such an opportunity should be given to the older brothers. He wonders if the master cares so much about him, and if she suspects he might be a spy from the inferior cult. He thinks it is better to be safe than sorry, and it would be better to decline. The fairy asks if he is sure and says that if that's the case, she asks if Lu wants to go, since he is the first disciple of the Jade Serene Peak and can be sure not to cause any problems. Elsewhere, Sangshan thanks the younger brother for his supportive words to the master, and if there is any problem in the future, he can feel free to ask for his help. The system notifies that the older brother has generated a favorable impression of him, and Han says that he prays for his success. Chang says to leave the younger brother in his care. Lu says that she has finally become a veteran and now even knows how to take care of people, and this is her cue. He thinks to wish the younger brother good luck. Yue says that he has been cultivating for a long time, but has never taken a mission from the sect and asks if he wants her to guide him. Jue asks about the sect's mission and if he can skip it. Chang replies that it's fine if he doesn't go, but asks if he doesn't think cultivating in the dwelling cave is too slow and that he might be able to get a lot of cultivation resources by completing the sect's missions. He says he doesn't need it as he still has enough spirit stones. Yue says that completing missions will also help him earn contribution points, and if the contribution points are high, he can exchange them for pills. He replies that he's afraid of losing his life, so he declines. She asks how he can fear the end when he's a cultivator. The protagonist asks why she is even cultivating if she's afraid of the end. Chang realizes she's lost the argument and calls him a coward. The master observes and thinks that it seems Han is not really a spy from the inferior cult, but he is a cultivator without affiliation. Yet he doesn't lack resources or talent, so it's better to keep observing him for a while longer. 10 years later, at the Thunder Spirit Well, someone calls him a damned soul and asks why he's there again, telling him to explain. It's the tree, saying that it also thought he was a prodigy and after so many years, asks how he's still at the third level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Ju asks how anyone could be completely certain about anything. The tree tells him to listen to himself, as the waters of cultivation are deep, and he won't be able to withstand it. The protagonist thinks that they can only see the third level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Before, he spent almost 400 high-level spirit stones, and only managed to cultivate the other spiritual bases to the 5th level of Foundation Establishment. And his real cultivation is at the 5th level of the realm. He needs to use as few spirit stones as possible to fully cultivate his Thunder spiritual base. Mo approaches and says he's also here. Han says it's been a long time and asks who the person behind him is. Fu Chu says she will introduce him and explains that this is her younger sister from the same clan, and she is the disciple of the Jade Serene Peak that he mentioned before. Ju wants to know why he's still at the 3rd level of Foundation Establishment, saying her brother told her he could already be at the 6th level of the realm. Jue responds that it's because he wants to take it slow, and he will begin cultivating as staying here costs a lot of spirit stones, and should remind them, if they want to cultivate together, to do it a bit farther away. The girl says she thought that a prodigy her brother kept an eye on would be capable, yet after so many years there's been no development. On the other hand, she used just 10 years to advance 2 levels, and that's what is called a prodigy, and that her brother should take a look, until she looks to the side, surprised to see a huge amount of extremely intense energy, and wonders if the spiritual chi around him is being absorbed exhaustively. Mo also looks surprised and thinks that this speed of absorbing spiritual chi is faster than his own, and this is impossible, as he's already at the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. His sister asks what kind of technique he's cultivating. Fu Chu replies that it's due to the aptitude of the spiritual base. She asks why Han's level isn't increasing. Mo says that person must have a way to suppress cultivation, and fears that his cultivation has already surpassed his own and can only say that there will always be someone better than him. The system notifies Jue that Fu Chu's acceptance of him has increased, as has his sister's. 8 years later, the protagonist says that his Thunder spiritual chi is finally at the 9th level. He asks the veteran to open the teleportation formation and take him back to the inner sect, as it's almost time to receive his salary, and he thinks it's been a while since he last got his pay, wondering how many spirit stones he'll receive. The tree says it seems that he possesses a way to suppress his cultivation, which is truly remarkable and offers an opportunity that could help him gain many resources, asking if he's interested. Han asks if it's dangerous. The tree replies that fortune is often accompanied by risks, and Jue walks away. Elsewhere, he is thinking about this opportunity and realizes he's somewhat attracted to it, and since there are indications of danger, he wonders if it might be better to just receive his salary regularly, and why not appreciate a stable job instead. The girls watch him pass by and ask who that person is, saying he's so handsome, and it's surprising that the Pure Jade sect has a guy like him, asking if anyone knows his name. The protagonist thinks that having too much charm is troublesome, and he can't run since he's in line, until he notices something beside him. It's Ju saying that he's here and it's nice to meet here. The girls get very irritated when they see this. She says that there's something she needs help with, and it's a great opportunity. Han wonders about another opportunity. Ju says it's a great opportunity, and she's sure he doesn't want to miss such a chance, asking if he's not interested. She touches his arm and continues, saying that if he does things properly, becoming wealthy won't just be a dream, and there may even be additional rewards as well. Jue pulls her arm away and tells her to control herself. He apologizes, saying he needs to return to his cultivation. The girl says that this is a super, mega, ultra opportunity, until she looks ahead and doesn't see him anymore, asking where he is. The protagonist hides and wonders if the crazy girl followed him. The girls pass by, commenting if they saw the cultivator who just passed. Her friend replies that yes, and it's a shame they didn't ask which peak he belonged to. He's even more handsome than the winner from last year's inner sect competition. They agree with each other. Han wonders about the inner sect competition, thinking that he was so focused on cultivation that he forgot about something important like this, and the master won't forgive him. Elsewhere, he greets the master, who tells him to come in and says there's something they need to discuss. Jue apologizes for his neglect while cultivating, saying he missed the inner sect competition. The fairy tells him not to worry about that, as there will be more opportunities in the future. She asks why he's still at the 3rd level of the Foundation Establishment realm, and if he's joking, because she knows this isn't the limit of his abilities. The protagonist says he's flattered, and the truth is that he's at the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm and was hoping to keep a low profile, so he hid his cultivation. Chang is surprised and asks how he managed to advance so quickly. The fairy says that if everyone in the Jade Serene Peak cultivated with as much dedication as him, the Jade Serene Peak would undoubtedly become the strongest peak. The system notifies him that by maintaining the discretion of his cultivation, he has gained Zhuan's recognition and will be rewarded with a movement technique manual and the illusory 7 steps. Han thinks that he almost forgot about the reward. He says it's not that great and that he just enjoys cultivating, wondering if anyone has joined. He looks to the side and notices Elder Iron. He feels awkward. The winds get stronger and Chang asks why there are leaves falling inside. A voice yells both their names. Later, Yue asks if the two already know each other. They respond that it's more than just knowing each other. The master tells the Lord that this is the newly arrived disciple of the Jade Serene Peak and that he can call him younger brother. Ju says he wouldn't even dare. Iron asks how it's possible that he's become an inner sect disciple, as he didn't have any spiritual foundations in the past. And his testing method couldn't have been wrong. Over the past 20 years, he's done everything possible to advance to the Foundation Establishment realm. But how did he manage to reach the 9th level? If only he had discovered this aptitude earlier. The fairy asks about this expression and says that the younger brother is a prodigy of his peak, and she won't allow him to have any strange thoughts. The Lord thanks her for the warning, lamenting how magical this world is. Zhuan says that's enough, and that she has something to say to him. Since Han loves cultivating so much, she's assigning him a mission to guard the kingdom of 10,000 demons of the pure Jade sect. He asks about the kingdom of 10,000 demons. Chang answers that it's a place where the beasts of the pure Jade sect are raised, and she'll let him accompany her. The master replies no, saying that it's a very dangerous place, with frequent cases of beasts becoming enraged. And there have also been cases of disciples being brutally eliminated. Jue wonders about this treatment as they didn't even take the care to hide it. The fairy says not to worry. Each peak will send a disciple to guard the kingdom of 10,000 demons. The spiritual qi in that place is dense, making it perfect for cultivating. But there is a certain risk involved, and he just needs to be more careful. The protagonist thinks that she didn't even give him a chance to refuse, and this isn't the same as being a zookeeper, so he'll just relax. He says that this disciple will take care of whatever she arranged. She tells him to go prepare, and someone will come to take him to the kingdom of 10,000 demons. Chang runs after him, saying to wait as she can help him pack. Zhuan says she doesn't want to hear anything about Han's past, and from now on, they will be younger brother and older brother, and having a good relationship with him will only bring benefits. As long as it's not some unforgivable grudge, it's better if they resolve it. And knowing the disciple, he won't plan anything against the Lord, so she can rest assured about that. In the future, Han will be the main disciple of the Jade Serene Peak. The elder looks surprised and asks about the main disciple, thinking that this brat really earned it. In the kingdom of 10,000 demons, it's already been 6 months since the protagonist arrived. Since he's been cultivating every day, his wind spiritual base has reached the 6th level of the Foundation Establishment realm, while the others remain the same. It takes a lot of work to cultivate a base, and it's boring, so he decided to take a look at the system. He asks if the relationship tab has been updated. The system notifies him that his friend was attacked by a demonic cultivator and almost got seriously injured, and was attacked by the disciples of the pure Jade sect. She was in a dangerous situation and fell off a cliff. Han says it's as he imagined, nothing good comes from accepting an opportunity, and wishes her good luck. He notes that it's time to patrol and practice the illusory 7 steps along the way. Chang said that while the kingdom of 10,000 demons is a good cultivation place, he should patrol every now and then to prevent the beasts from becoming enraged and causing trouble. Jui looks to the side and notices a kitten, saying the beasts in the kingdom don't seem dangerous at all. The cat's eyes become scary, but the protagonist doesn't even notice and walks away distracted, singing. The cat grows much larger and more frightening, heading toward him to attack, but it can't. And when he looks to the side, Han is on the roof, thinking that was close, and it's a good thing he mastered the illusory 7 steps, or he wouldn't have been able to dodge. He finds it strange because the restriction spells cast in the pavilion weren't triggered, and this is the first time it's happened. This beast doesn't seem ordinary, and he has to take this seriously, wondering if those spells can still be called restriction spells when so many beasts can enter and leave at will. The illusory 7 steps with each level of the spell can create an additional shadow clone, and if mastered to the 7th level's limit, the user can create 7 shadow clones, which not only increases the user's speed, but also confuses the enemy. Jue tells his clones to pay attention because a beast got enraged and can pass through the restriction spells, and its speed is similar to theirs. The beast stares at them with its terrifying, challenging eyes. The clones surround it. The protagonist uses the unmatched divine sword, releasing energy. The beast watches and gets cut all over its body. It runs away. Han says it's a pity that among the illusory 7 Steps clones, only the real one can deal damage, and the beast wouldn't have survived if the clones could deal damage. Fortunately, it only had speed and no offensive skills. He wonders where this boy came from, as he managed to bypass the restriction spells. Stopping to think, it doesn't seem peaceful lately. The beasts are becoming enraged more often, and it's better to report this situation. Elsewhere, a voice says that this matter is a bit suspicious and feels it might be connected to the inferior cult. Several people are sitting around a table, discussing and saying these scoundrels must be involved, and they think they want to exploit the beasts of the kingdom of 10,000 demons. They dealt with more than 30% of the spies from the inferior cult who infiltrated the sect and ask what they think about sending more disciples to patrol the kingdom of 10,000 demons. It's suspicious that there might be a traitor among the higher-ups. The ancient immortal says that, in any case, the matters involving the disappearance of the sect leader and the beasts becoming enraged in the kingdom of 10,000 demons must be properly investigated. He says the younger sister hasn't said a word since the meeting began and asks if she is thinking of something. The master says she will just let them decide on these matters. The elder of the Celestial Peak says not to think she has any idea of what's going on behind the scenes with the talent development programs of each peak and where the master took those 18 core disciples. The fairy says that she has always cultivated quietly and only has a superficial understanding of what's happening. He says that if there really is a traitor among the elders, the only person he can trust is her, and they need to work together. Zhuan agrees and says that since they were taught by the same master. Elsewhere, a voice says they will now dispatch more disciples to assist with the guard of the kingdom of 10,000 demons. The meeting is adjourned. 2 years later, the protagonist says that the restriction spell cast in the kingdom of 10,000 demons is definitely a good thing, suitable for use as a rest stop while patrolling and cultivating. While inside the spell, even though he's not in the core realm, he doesn't need to worry about the beasts or enemies in the realm, until someone approaches and asks if he's using the kingdom of 10,000 demons as a cultivation place. Han asks, and for what else? Until he's surprised. He wonders who this person is when they entered, and if they're not affected by the restriction spells, meaning they might be a cultivator above the golden core realm. Han releases his energy. The young man tells him not to be scared, as he is also a disciple of the Pure Jade sect sent there to protect the kingdom of 10,000 demons. He appears to be at the 3rd level of the Foundation Establishment realm, but judging by the rhythm of his breathing, he must actually be at the 9th level of the realm. Jue wonders if he noticed his cultivation. Who is this old man? The old man says he doesn't need to be nervous, and asks if he came there voluntarily or if the master sent him. The protagonist replies that his master sent him. The old man is surprised and asks if his master gave him any mission. Han asks even if she did, why should he tell him this? The old man asks if he won't let others know and says that this younger brother is interesting. He asks if Han knows what kind of trouble he's getting into and tells him to follow him for the sake of his master, as he can help him deal with it. Jue looks at his status and thinks that he is lying. He said he was a disciple, but is he the sect master? He wonders if he's actually the sect leader. Elsewhere, a voice says that the beasts there are prone to getting angry. All of these beasts are under the command of the White Dragon Tiger, and they must know that the White Dragon Tiger always seeks revenge and is naturally violent. This time, he summoned many beasts to prepare for a rebellion. Now that it's been said, what did he do to provoke the White Dragon Tiger? Li calls him. The protagonist gets the idea that the old man is flirting with his master and gets irritated. Jingzi says he's talking and asking a question. Han explains what happened 2 years ago. Then, still in the same place, Li says it's strange, and it seems that the phenomenon of the beasts getting enraged earlier than expected wasn't caused by him. It's more likely that it was caused by the inferior cult, and the issue between him and the tiger must be a post-incident caused by them. He's lucky. The king must have fallen into their trap and had his strength drained, and asks what kind of technique he's using. Jue replies that it's a movement technique he got on his way, and for him, it's normal to be fast. Qingzi wonders how that's normal, thinking that this is a king, and if they're talking about speed, even a master in the Golden Core realm couldn't defeat him. The protagonist says that the priority now is to deal with the beast getting enraged, but if they want to do that, they need to start with the cause and asks if when Li says to deal with it, he means to eliminate it. Li replies that of course not, and that the king has great potential, and asks if it will be worth it if he's eliminated. Han asks how they plan to deal with it. Qingzi replies that this must be his lucky encounter. The most likely reason his master sent him to the kingdom of 10,000 demons is to let him gain merit, and his skills aren't as simple as they seem, since he could retreat safely when facing the White Dragon Tiger, and he must have a lot of tricks up his sleeve and tame it. Ju says he thinks it's better for him to find someone else, since he just wants to cultivate in peace, and wonders how he'll tame it with so many beasts around. Li tells him to wait. He will prepare a formation and trap him there to help him deal with the pressure. If he can tame the White Dragon Tiger, he'll reward him with the Pure Jade sect's supreme technique. The pure jade technique. Han thinks he's not interested. The system shows the mission instructions and notifies him that the master of the pure jade sect gave him a mission with the following choices: accept the mission and do his best, or reject the mission and continue cultivating. The protagonist thinks he's angry at the Demon King and the attention from the inferior iridescent cult. He tells him to excuse himself and goodbye. Lee gets irritated and wants to know why the younger sister chose a disciple like him. He says he really doesn't understand. He even gave him a great opportunity, but in the end, he still has to carry all the burden and asks if he doesn't agree. As expected of him to easily feel something there, Qingxi looks back and notices the beast approaching, very furious, releasing a great amount of energy. Elsewhere, Chang walks with her friend and says that the master said the beasts in the kingdom of 10,000 demons are enraged, and they need to find Han quickly. Her friend says to wait as something is happening up ahead. They look surprised, seeing the cut trees, and ask if it was caused by the enraged beasts. But one of them replies no, and says it looks more like the unmatched sword technique. Chang calls for her younger brother and he asks why she's there. Yue asks if he missed his older sister, saying to welcome him. The boy introduces himself as Meng He and says it's a pleasure to meet him. The protagonist says it's a pleasure to meet him too. Meng says that the master found out that recently the beasts in the kingdom of 10,000 demons have been getting enraged. So she sent the younger sister and himself to provide support, and asks how much he knows about the current situation and what happened with the cut trees. Han responds that earlier, many beasts surrounded him, but luckily an elder came to help. Meng says it seems the situation in the kingdom of 10,000 demons is terrible. Since that's the case, he'll take a look around and tells her to rest as he's leaving. Later, still in the same place, Chang says they came here because the master is worried about him, as he might be in danger, and she learned that spies from the inferior cult infiltrated the kingdom of 10,000 demons, so they need to stay alert. The protagonist wonders about the inferior cult and thinks that no wonder the mission earlier warned that it could attract their attention, and he believes that might be why the sect master came to the kingdom of 10,000 demons. The situation is worse than he imagined. He calls for his older sister and asks what she thinks about leaving the kingdom of 10,000 demons. She says it doesn't mean abandoning his post. Meng arrives and asks if he hasn't activated the restrictive spells. Han says they've been active for a while now. Meng says luckily because he just crossed paths with a powerful beast and almost lost his life. They ask how he provoked this beast, and it seems this beast is at least in the Golden Core realm. Meng says he saw a group of beasts a few kilometers away, and they were all captured by someone. The moment he thought about retreating, he encountered that powerful beast from the Golden Core realm. Ju tells him to stop talking and to hurry up and recover. Chang thinks that despite not being there for long, the seventh brother has already been injured. This place is very dangerous, and it's no surprise the younger brother wants to leave. However, he's been there for so long, and she wonders how he doesn't have a scratch. The protagonist thinks that, in fact, no one should wander carelessly, and the situation with the older brother is a classic example. Meng says to wait a minute as the presence of the beasts surrounding them is getting stronger and they're coming very fast. Their target must be them. The beasts run quickly toward their house. Meng says there are countless beasts and the restrictive spells may not be able to stop them. Han asks why they aren't fleeing from there. Yue says that this place is under the jurisdiction of the Jade Serene Peak, and if they run, it would mean abandoning their post without permission. Jue responds that they can stay behind and wait for the outcome. As for their heroic deeds, he will tell the master about them. Meng says he's right, and each of the 18 peaks has an area to manage. They won't be the only ones attacked by this wave of beasts. As long as they're alive, there's hope, and they need to move quickly, until the beasts rapidly approach, destroying everything around. Chang says that the pavilion was destroyed by the wave of beasts, and they aren't stopping. It seems they weren't the target. Meng says it seems like they were just crossing paths and wonders what the inferior cult is planning. The protagonist thinks there's a beast with a monstrous aura. The beast appears behind them. He quickly picks up his older sister in his arms and thinks it's a beast in the Golden Core realm. And that coward left them and fled alone. Chang, with tears in her eyes, says to look above them. There are 7 of them. The bird stares at them with terrifying eyes. Yue thinks they're done for. Han uses his triple shadow sword technique. This is a technique he received after rejecting the sect master's offer. Triple shadow sword technique, when the user's chi sword is materialized in shadows, and he can create a maximum of 3 swords with different spiritual chi. Each shadow sword will have a different spiritual chi. The swords are powerful and domineering. This technique can be activated continuously until the user runs out of spiritual energy. Jue releases his energy and uses the slash. Later, elsewhere, Chang is surprised, thinking how this is possible. That was a damn beast in the Golden Core realm. And if she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she wouldn't have believed how amazing her younger brother is. A beast in the Golden Core realm, and 6 others at the peak of the Foundation Establishment realm, wiped out in an instant. and that cold expression, she still can't forget it and wonders if that was really the younger brother she knew. Moreover, he's handsome and strong. The protagonist says he's almost done. And today's collection was excellent. There are many valuable things in the beasts. He heard they can be exchanged for spirit stones and tells them to go ahead. Yue thinks to bring back the younger brother from a second ago. He asks if they are just going to leave like this. Han replies that yes, and that this incident can be considered a special circumstance. In the worst case, all he has to do is kneel and beg for the master's forgiveness. Chang says they should go together and still needs to complain to the master. The seventh older brother's conduct is unbelievable. In the teleportation formation of the kingdom of 10,000 demons, Meng says, thank goodness they are fine, until someone strikes him in the face. It was Yue, and she asks why those beasts didn't eliminate him. He apologizes. Jue tells her to take her time beating him. He will return to the inner sect to exchange the spirit stones first, and will meet with the master later. She says she will go with him. Meng asks why she's pulling him. In the general supplies, the protagonist thinks this is something he never thought about. He was worried that the number of spirit stones wouldn't be enough to fully cultivate Foundation establishment, but it looks like he's in for some great days ahead. He wonders if they can earn all of this just by eliminating beasts. And to think they could be sold for 397 high-level spirit stones, and suddenly he feels like going back and hunting beasts, he could make a lot. Chang tells him not to even think about it and that the kingdom of 10,000 demons is a small world created by the sect to nurture the beasts. Each beast inside is valuable. Under normal circumstances, disciples are prohibited from eliminating the beasts, and this time they won't be held responsible since it was an exception. Han thinks it's better to maintain discretion and cultivate as usual. He can earn spirit stones little by little since the amount he has now is enough for him to advance to the Golden Core realm. In the pavilion, a voice asks why the three have returned. Jue says that not only were there enraged beasts in the realm, but there was also evidence of the inferior cult. And this disciple really couldn't stay there anymore, so he came here to beg for her forgiveness and is willing to accept any punishment. The master asks if he is prohibited from cultivating for these 100 years. The protagonist looks shocked. Yue says this matter has nothing to do with the younger brother, and that time they were attacked by the beasts. But the seventh older brother abandoned them and fled. The fairy says that even though Meng didn't save the two of them, they were too weak and were slowing him down, and having one person return alive with information is better than 3 people being eliminated together. Chang is surprised and tries to say something, but Zhuan interrupts her and says that he didn't violate any rules, and all he did was protect himself, and the two can leave first. They agree, and Han wonders what she is planning, and he wonders if she wants to resolve this alone with him, and if she's suspicious of him again, and when she's going to let it go. The master says he has been cultivating for so long and asks what's the reason for such behavior. Hue wonders if she is asking about his ambitions. He says it's to attain his immortality. The fairy says that even if he continues cultivating in seclusion, it is impossible for him to achieve immortality without an opportunity. The protagonist says that this disciple understands and hopes to increase his cultivation and become powerful before seeking an opportunity, and thinks he doesn't understand. Only those without talent seek opportunities. Zhuan says she has arranged an opportunity for him. If he had succeeded in the realm, he could have become a core disciple, and unfortunately he gave it up. Above all, the cultivation technique he is using is unfathomable, and that makes her unable to assist him in his cultivation, and asks if he wants his own spiritual well in the dwelling cave, besides the thunder spiritual chi, also other types of spiritual chi. Han asks where it is. The master replies that it is near the Jade Serene Peak, but he can only receive it if he secures one of the top 3 positions in the inner sect evaluation. Zhu thinks about the inner sect evaluation, and it must be a fight, and that wouldn't be dangerous. She asks if he is afraid of fighting, saying it's not like he's going to lose his life. The protagonist asks if there will be participants in the Golden Core realm or above. The fairy asks if he thinks the Golden Core realm is as common as lettuce, and says that anyone reaching the Golden Core realm is either a core disciple, an elder, or a deacon. Han asks if that means all the participants are cultivators in the Foundation establishment realm. She replies that that's exactly it. Zhu thanks her for the warning and says he will do his best to bring respect to the Jade Serene Peak, and thinks he thanks her in advance for the dwelling cave with the spiritual well. Zhuan thinks he's a damned brat that isn't easy to deal with. In the spiritual well, a voice asks if he is there, and says to hand over the spirit stones equivalent to 100 days of cultivation. The protagonist thinks that according to the master, there are still 8 years until the inner sect evaluation, and he needs to use this time to cultivate as much as possible. The chief says it's done. The seat is number 4,444 in Area A. Han thinks he has to spend carefully. Even during his cultivation, he will train his wind spiritual base to perfection and save some spirit stones. The women watch him walk by and say that he is very handsome, and wonder if he could be the mysterious, beautiful disciple from the Jade Serene Peak. They've never seen anyone as handsome as him in the sect. Ju thinks that these girls are vulgar. They don't even understand the joy of cultivation, and teleports next to the wind spiritual well. And elsewhere, as expected from the sect, they have all kinds of spiritual wells. The environment of the wind spiritual well is much better than the thunder spiritual well. He must ensure that all 6 of his spiritual bases reach the 9th level before the inner sect evaluation. Until the protagonist looks to the side, people gathered saying Joe is certainly good, and asking if he didn't say he could surpass them in the inner sect evaluation. And why is he still at the 1st level of foundation establishment? And how does he expect to surpass them with his insignificant spiritual base? And if he's willing to kneel and beg for forgiveness, they might consider letting him go, as Sister Lu will soon get married and won't be able to protect him anymore. They ask why not take care of him right there. Han, eating watermelon and observing everything, thinks that as always problems arise where there are people, he will just focus on his cultivation. And the system seems a bit different. The system detects an innate providence and asks if he wants to investigate its origin. Meanwhile, the people are calling the boy trash. And the boy asks how dare they cause trouble near the spiritual well, and aren't they afraid of the disciplinary pavilion's punishment? And says that recently the cult has been acting, and trash like them keeps inciting internal disputes, and he has reasons to believe that they are all spies of the cult. He says they'd better be careful. Joe was born in a mortal city. His spiritual bases were detected by the Pure Jade sect, and he was registered in the sect with his childhood love. There is a numinous treasure hidden deep within his soul, and the numinous treasure is severely injured because it's been protecting him. Jue realizes that this innate providence is a terrifying origin, and he could be a main character in a novel. And this experience seems very familiar, and wonders if the numinous treasure's surname could be Yao as well, and should use this chance to help him. The good part in his head says he's like the main character in a novel, and it will be easy from now on if he helps him. The bad part says there's no chance. Countless secondary characters are abandoned by the main character to progress. The protagonist thinks it's better to leave it alone. Cultivation is the most important thing, and Fan needs to trust fate. 8 years later, Han says he will stop his training here. The inner sect evaluation is about to begin, and he notices that his water and earth spiritual bases are at level 8. His fire, thunder, wind, and wood spiritual bases are at level 9, until he notices something to the side. It's Joe with a disheartened expression and trembling hands. The girl in front of him says she's sorry and that he's a nice guy, and she walks away. Jue thinks that's why he's focusing only on his cultivation, because it causes fewer problems. Fan tells him to wait there, and recognizes him. The protagonist asks what he can do for him. Joe introduces himself, saying he's heard many stories about him through Mo, and he said he'll be a great cultivator in the future and he always wanted to meet him. Han thinks, look at what brother Mo did, and judging by his posture, he's going to use the old method from wuxia novels. Fan kneels and says he heard that he's popular with the girls, and asks him to tell him how to win the love of his life. Jue is confused, thinking he really thought he would start a fight. Joe asks for some guidance. The protagonist says he should rid himself of everything and asks how cultivators like him can be tied down by love. He says that the world will be under his command once he attains the Great Tao, and until then, he will naturally get whatever he desires, and asks if he's ever seen him near a woman, and says he needs to understand these steps by himself. Fan wonders why his heart beat faster. Han calls him a fool in his thoughts, saying the most important thing is appearance, and wonders if he really thinks there's any comparison between them. The system says Joe has developed admiration for him. The bell rings, and Jue realizes that all the disciples have been summoned, and believes it must be something related to the inner sect evaluation. Liu says it's been a while. He says that he wants to ask him something. He tells him to go ahead. Sang-Shin asks if by any chance he knows a girl named Xing Hongshuan. The protagonist looks surprised and wonders how he knows. He says he doesn't know and asks why he's asking. Liu says that for the past years he has been hiding in the kingdom of 10,000 demons with the sect master to repel the cult. The reason they haven't had any casualties is due to information provided by a traitor from the cult. This is also why the master had intended to leave the sect and hide in the kingdom to ambush the demonic cult. Han says he has great luck as expected of him. Sanshin says that the demonic cult traitor is Xing, who when she was young, was forced to swallow a poisoned pill and threatened to become a spy in the Pure Jade sect. She always hated the demonic cult and even tried to find an antidote with one of the alchemists from the outer sect. Jue says that she did an excellent job, and she was able to distinguish right from wrong and chose the right path. Liu says that after that, she received refuge from the sect master due to her contribution, and the sect master even made an exception and accepted her as an inner sect disciple. The protagonist says that she's amazing, and she has such strong morals. She is an inspiration for their generation. Sanshin says that Xing is currently in the main peak and is cultivating under the guidance of the sect master's younger sister, the Taoist. Earlier, when he met Miss Xing, she asked him to look for someone named Han, a servant of one of the alchemists from the outer sect, and coincidentally one of the disciples of the Jade Serene Peak is also named Han, and he asks if this isn't a great coincidence. The protagonist thinks that, damn it, she ruined everything. He says that's right, since that's who she was looking for and he didn't have a choice that time. Liu says not to worry as he understands, and he just didn't expect him to have such exceptional talent. He's very lucky to see up close that he chose the Jade Serene Peak over other, even better peaks, and they'll try to provide him with the best resources. Han thinks he suddenly feels guilty and never imagined she had such a hard life and even planned against her before. He doesn't deserve her acceptance. Since she cares so much about him, he can only wish she doesn't have to suffer anymore in the future. Elsewhere, the master says that the inner sect evaluation is about to begin. Each peak needs to send at least 10 disciples to participate and asks if anyone is willing to represent the peak. The disciples start shouting, asking to be allowed to go. Jue notices everyone is excited and asks if there's some kind of reward for this evaluation. Meng replies that there is a great reward. In addition to inheriting the Jade Flow technique, there's even a reward of 500 high-level spirit stones and an ice spirit. The protagonist wonders if that's all, and they didn't mention anything about an inborn cave dwelling, and if this is some sort of special reward from the master. He thinks that since everyone is so excited, he'll blend in with them so they don't think he's unsociable, until a voice says to leave him the first seat and asks if anyone else is there. Another voice asks if the rain is going to fall from the bottom to the top since he's really participating. Han says it's not that, and that this doesn't count as raising his hand, it was just a symbol to demonstrate his support. The master says it doesn't matter, and the first seat doesn't carry much responsibility, she's just counting on him. She then says the list is finalized and he can stay there while the rest is dismissed. The disciples start leaving and comment that the master asks the younger brother to stay there alone and ask if she's going to give him some special guidance. And they say he can do whatever he wants as long as he has talent, and to stop looking back and hurry up before the master gets angry. After the people leave, the fairy says that his cultivation has increased again and she underestimated him. Even with 3 spiritual bases, the speed of his cultivation is still the best in the pure Jade sect. Ju says it's all thanks to her guidance and she's incredible. Zhuan says she doesn't remember having taught him anything, and his cultivation and sword techniques are excellent, but they aren't techniques from the pure Jade sect. She has been observing him and thinks he must have had another master before, and has been cultivating diligently ever since he joined the sect and has no intention of causing harm to this sect. Furthermore, someone testified that he was from the outer sect, meaning he must have seized an opportunity when he was young. It's okay, everyone finds opportunities in life and I won't investigate further. I just discussed all these matters to inform you about this, and you don't need to worry about the internal sect evaluation this time. No one will put you in a complicated situation because of the past. He thanks her for the consideration. The master says that to avoid unnecessary problems from now on, he will be her personal disciple. The protagonist wonders about being a personal disciple. He opens the status window. The status in the pure Jade sect increased, and he became the personal disciple of an elder and will obtain a magical manual, the 9 Dragons Demon Expulsion Seal, and is congratulated for obtaining the 9 Dragons Demon Expulsion Seal. Han thanks her and says that she may have tens, hundreds, and thousands of years of life. The fairy smiles and hands over the personal disciple's item, saying that it will keep him safe and that he may leave now, until Jue inherits the 9 Dragons Demon Expulsion Seal. This third magic he learned is similar to a palm technique that can be conjured with the hand, producing various effects when infused with different types of spiritual energy, and he finds it interesting. He thinks that now he has another trump card. The only problem is that he's not efficient with it yet. Adding the triple shadow sword technique, there shouldn't be a problem being passive until someone attacks him first. And even though the master said there are no restrictions on the techniques used during the battle, and these 2 abilities are very destructive, he needs to avoid using them if possible. When considering everything, he realizes he has no other abilities to use. Chang calls him, saying the internal sect evaluation is approaching, and asks how confident he is. He says good morning to her and asks how she got in. Yue answers that it's a secret and asks if this isn't the first time he's participating in the internal sect evaluation, and to follow her. The master is worried that he doesn't know the rules, so she specifically asked her to explain them. And all 18 peaks have built an arena, and he should know about it. The disciples from each peak will participate in duels in a knockout tournament until the top 10 are chosen. After that, they will compete in the internal sect city where the whole sect will watch them. She says he may look there for tomorrow's evaluation and will fight on the TN peak. The protagonist asks if before the top 10 fight, there won't be a lot of people watching him. She replies, that's right. Chang asks if he aims for the top 3 and says he can definitely achieve it with strength. He replies that he will try his best. Yue says she prefers to report to the master and to give his best in the evaluation. Han thanks her and says for her to be careful on the way back, and wonders if this is not good. thinking he could even fight discreetly and really doesn't want to attract attention. Until Xing approaches, calling him husband. Jue, irritated, says she shouldn't speak nonsense. She laughs and asks if she didn't make a promise to him when they were at the outer sect and says she never imagined they would meet here. It must be fate. The protagonist says that at that time he had no choice, and if he had rejected her, he fears she would have eliminated him. The redhead says not to worry, as she's taking it very seriously, and that at that time he didn't betray her, and if it weren't for him, she wouldn't be well at this moment. And she heard from others that he is at the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm, and asks if it's true. Han replies that to be precise, he is almost at the 9th level, and with the evaluation approaching, he doesn't have enough time to cultivate. Xing puts her hand between her breasts and says she just happens to have a pill suitable for a cultivator in the Foundation Establishment realm to increase his cultivation, and she'll take a look. She takes out an item and says it's the pure jade pill, and she really doesn't want to use it so he can take it since it's suitable for him. Jue says he thinks it's better to keep it and use it himself. The redhead says not to worry, as she can get this pill regularly. The protagonist takes the pill and says that this is not the problem, and that he is currently cultivating with the Taoist. Master Jiangshu is a good person, so there's no need to worry. Xing calls him husband and says he needs to work hard in the internal sect evaluation. Back then, she didn't know her husband was a prodigy, and her aptitude is average, but if there's anything she can help with, she'll try her best. Han opens his eyes wide, and when he's about to say something, she disappears, and he is left with the item, thinking this is a coincidence. Elsewhere, someone calls the disciple. It's Jing saying that she gave the pure jade pill to that boy and asks if she regrets it. The redhead replies that no, and that she's already fallen into the traps of love. The Taoist says that's nonsense, and asks if it's just because he's handsome. Xing asks if that's not enough. Jing says she doesn't think it's worth helping him. The redhead says his aptitude is exceptional, and when she first met him, he had no cultivation at all. But she heard from the sect master that now he is at the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Jing says it's strange and says he has so much talent and asks how she's never heard anything about him all these years. Xing replies that the sect master said he is very discreet and has been busy cultivating in isolation, and the master even tried to give him an opportunity, but he rejected it, saying he's afraid of the end. The Taoist says it's interesting and thinks he needs to pay more attention to him. Elsewhere, the protagonist is observing and wonders if she didn't say there would be a lot of spectators only during the top 10 fight, and thinks he assumed there would only be a few spectators at each peak, and wonders how the hell he should act. The system shows that the internal sect evaluation of the Pure Jade sect is about to begin, and there are the following choices. Win in the most indiscreet way, shock the sect and receive 1,000 spiritual stones. Maintain discretion and check the top 3, and try to hold back as much as possible, and he may obtain a mysterious treasure. Han says the second option, he knew before, that a numinous treasure is far superior to any common treasure. It came at a good time since no numinous treasure. Maybe the heavens are helping him and he will choose it. And speaking of that, it seems there's an option to maintain discretion in every mission. It must be related to the choices he made initially. He thinks the system knows exactly what he wants and prefers to live a long life rather than being in the spotlight. So he will remain discreet until he becomes invincible. A voice says the first round, Zhua from the Jade Serenity Peak versus Lu from the Tianzhu Peak. Mo says this will be interesting. His younger sister says, of course, as he's very strong and will surely come out victorious in any round. Meanwhile, in the fight, the protagonist is running using his 7 illusory steps, calling for his mother to save him. His opponent continues attacking and says that by being able to find a weakling in the first round, fighting him doesn't bring any excitement. The people watching get disheartened and say they should leave since this fight is so boring, and he only knows how to dodge. And this is a damn child's play. It's better to watch fights at another peak. Ju is disappointed and says he shouldn't be this weak. Fuchu says he's doing this on purpose, and will soon understand what he means. Han is attacked and thinks this is It seems there aren't many spectators left. The judges are also distracted, and this is the best opportunity. Jue stares at his opponent. Lu says he's bored now, and he didn't use his ability even when continuing to beat him, and is going to finish this. A weakling like him should leave the stage now. The protagonist smiles eerily and says, "As you wish." The opponent thinks he's fast. Then, an explosion happens. The judges wake up and ask if the battle is over. Lu is gravely injured, lying on the ground, unable to get up. The announcer says the winner of this round is her not to exaggerate, as he himself has no chance against him. Later, elsewhere, the protagonist has defeated opponents after many spectators left the battle, however. The top 10 fight approaching will make it hard to continue hiding his abilities in front of so many people. It's worth mentioning that unbelievably, that cultivator, Zhu, also managed to get into the top 10. The priority now is to strengthen himself in case something unexpected happens. Han looks at the plants and finds it strange that the leaves aren't swaying. He also doesn't feel any breeze, and wonders where this wind sound is coming from. and if he's being haunted. Jue observes a mist and uses the Nine Dragons Demon Expulsion Seal. A creature attacks him and the protagonist thinks the remains are still lingering there. He dodges and asks why the demon doesn't give up. An explosion happens. Strikes are exchanged until a voice says to wait and stop. Han wonders if it has intellect, as it's another reason to get rid of it. Evil spirit, disappear. The elder asks if he didn't tell him to stop hitting him, as he is the great elder of the pure Jade sect, and asks why the Jade Serenity Peak has a barbarian like him who doesn't know how to respect the elders. Ju wonders about the great elder. The old man says he just happened to be passing by and asks what his problem is and why he keeps launching abilities in his direction, and that there's no law or justice left in this world. The protagonist asks why he's moving around in such a frightening manner in the middle of the night. The great elder replies that this is how it is when he's cultivating his divine powers, and asks if he knows what a primordial spirit is. He wonders about that insane spell from earlier and thinks it nearly extinguished his spirit, and that he wouldn't have been able to withstand it even with his true body, and wonders if every disciple of the internal sect is this strong nowadays. Han says he needs to tell his master about this, and he might end up eliminating a disciple like himself out of shock if he keeps doing this. The old man tells him to stop and not tell her, as he's sorry. Jue asks if he knows his master. The old man says that actually his master is his disciple, just like the current leader of the sect. The protagonist says that in that case, he'll pretend nothing happened tonight. The great elder says his foundations seem impressive and asks if he wants to inherit his legacy. Han asks about the legacy. The old man replies that it's the golden body of the celestial constellation and asks if he wants to learn it, saying that in all of the pure Jade sect, only the sect leader, and he know how to do it. Jua wonders about the golden body of the celestial constellation and thinks it sounds incredible. He tells him to forget about it and says he appreciates the good intentions. The old man tells him to do as he wishes and says he's leaving. The protagonist thinks he almost eliminated him earlier, and there's no chance this old man is acting this benevolent. He's sure they're planning something. He explains to his master what happened and asks what she thinks. The fairy says that the old man is being reckless again and not to worry, as she'll speak with him tomorrow. If he dares show up again, she will deal with him herself. Han thanks her, and she says he can return now and to remember to rest early. Jue asks if this golden body of the celestial constellation technique is powerful, and says that the old man was hoping to teach him the technique. Zhuan answers that it's definitely powerful. It's said to be the most powerful technique in all of the pure Jade sect, but before cultivating it, it's necessary to cut one of his foundations. The protagonist asks which foundation. She replies that it's the thing that makes him a man. Han thinks that, as expected, the old man didn't have good intentions, and that means that the sect leader and the great elder are. The master says he must keep this a secret. Jue says this disciple understands and is leaving now, thinking that veterans are extreme and they are avoiding women in a similar way but to cut off their own. In the city of the internal sect, the battle for the top 10 in the internal sect evaluation is officially starting, and the whole sect is present to watch. People are gathered in the audience to watch and shout, "Ice Spirit." The protagonist thinks it will be difficult to maintain discretion in front of so many people and wonders if he should just go straight to the point and defeat them in an instant. Someone approaches calling him brother and says he's finally here. It's Chang, with a group of people saying that they all came to support him, wishing him good luck, and that he should aim for first place. Han thanks them all and says he'll do his best. Zhou watches and thinks that his biggest opponent in this internal sect evaluation is Han. Mo says that he's been hiding his true strength, and his strength is comparable to that of the elite disciples. Fan says they can't be sure, but now he has a powerful trump card and he might not even have a chance to win against himself. Zhu says she believes brother Jue will get first place. Yue asks who she is. The girl replies that it's none of her business. Chang says she should grow up more or her dear brother might end up getting imprisoned, until Xing approaches, calling him husband, and they start arguing about who she is to call him husband. The protagonist asks if this is divine retribution, and the announcer says to be quiet. And the top 10 battle for the internal sect evaluation is about to begin, and they can start the first round. Han from the Jade Serenity Peak versus Zhou from the Celestial Thunder Peak. People comment that it's the new prodigy of the Celestial Thunder Peak. Fan from the Celestial Thunder Peak is ruthless. He defeated all his opponents in the blink of an eye in each round. There's a question about the person with the Dharma treasure of birth, and they heard that the oldest disciple from the Sword Peak was publicly flamed. Since Zhou is ranked in the top 3, he can request a duel using his Dao companion as a bet. Meanwhile, the opponents face off, and Fan asks if he didn't say he's never had a close relationship with girls. Han replies that he had no choice and asks what else he could have done, saying this is a terrible situation. Zhou says he doesn't care, and that this time he has to give his best, releasing a large amount of energy and saying he needs to do his best, and not to be shy, as he'll let him take the first strike. Jue says if he said so. The announcer tells them to go to their positions. The protagonist begins to release his power and says he's going to bet everything on this attack and it's better to prepare. Fan thinks he should have an advantage since he has the Dharma treasure of birth and wonders why he feels uncomfortable and hopes he won't end up like that person said. Mo, a main disciple of the Celestial Thunder Peak, is undeniably strong, and Han is one of the few people he recognizes, saying he may not believe it, but in some ways, he's worse than Brother Han. And he's a subtle person. He holds a simple rule. Those who are pleasant will be competitors. Those who aren't will be enemies. And if there's an opportunity, try to be friends with Jue. It'll benefit him. His potential is enormous, and he's a model for the generation. Fan thinks he refuses to accept it, and today he will defeat him and prove his worth. Someone says that it's the master of destiny, and to observe well, he'll make them regret and make him understand he made a mistake in judgment. Meanwhile, in the fight, a great amount of energy is being released, and voices wonder what's happening, saying the spiritual chi is rising, and it's very frightening. Zhou uses absolute defense and wonders what's the use of celestial talent as he'll crush him. Both prepare their powers. Zhu observes and says Fan's Dharma treasure of birth is definitely strong. The master even accepted him as a personal disciple because of it. It could be a big challenge for Brother Han to win. Chang says he still has a long way to go compared to Jue. Just by looking, she realizes she doesn't know anything about him. The girl tells her to shut up. Then everyone looks shocked and asks what happened and if the fight is over. Zhou is gravely injured, thrown far away, crashing to the ground with a huge impact. The announcer says the winner of this round is Han from the Jade Serenity Peak. The second round will start in a few moments and asks what happened, if it ended so quickly, and if this is all Zhou has to offer. He was so arrogant to let him make the first move, and Jue is so strong he defeated the opponent in one strike. Yue asks if she didn't say her brother is very strong. Fan is being treated by medics, thinking he lost and was defeated, and it seems like Han took it easy on him. Then, still in the same place, the announcer says the top 5 has been decided, and they will draw the participants who will advance to the top 3 and won't fight in the next round. The remaining 4 will fight among themselves. The person who draws the red color won't fight in the next round. And Han from the Jade Serenity Peak goes straight to the top 3. The protagonist thinks his high-level luck is incredible, and the master said that the top 3 will receive a personal innate dwelling cave. And now that he skipped the next round and went straight to the top 3, it means after being chosen to skip the next round, the remaining 4 participated in the semifinal. However, neither of the 2 matches were great. People watched, confused, asking why none of them are moving, saying watching spiritual cultivator fights is very boring. In the other matches, the opponents were called brutes and asked if they couldn't use spells and if the sword was just for decoration, commenting that the most exciting battle was the one that lasted only 3 seconds. The announcer says now they have the top 3 and will announce the rules for the rounds. But someone interrupts him, raising their hand. It's the protagonist, saying he gives up. He used all his spiritual energy to quickly defeat his opponent in the last battle and is still recovering, so he's willing to be ranked 3rd. The announcer is silent for a second and then says that 3rd place goes to Han from the Jade Serenity Peak, and to remember to collect the prize at the main peak later. Zhu thanks him, and people comment what kind of ridiculous excuse that was. It seems Zhou isn't as weak as he looks, and Han made the right choice by going all out from the start and thinks he overestimated him and can't say that. Going all out against an opponent is the greatest form of respect. Now he definitely considers him highly, and it's a shame Fan lost. Zhou says then he himself wasn't that weak. Fan smiles, and the system notifies the protagonist that his acceptance of himself has increased. Also notifies that he entered the top 3 of the internal sect evaluation while maintaining discretion, and congratulates him for obtaining a 7th class numinous treasure, the divine mantle of the golden mystic cicada. Han wonders about the soul formation realm, and if he can defend a blow from a cultivator in the soul formation realm, thinking this is not impressive at all. The announcer asks why he's so enthusiastic about 3rd place, and to not tell him that the fairy asked him to take 3rd place. Jue replies that his master told him to do his best. The announcer says it doesn't matter what he says, and they have arrived at the main peak hall. Jin congratulates the 3 of them, saying they have successfully become elite disciples of the sect, and the reward this time is an innate dwelling cave, with the 1st place choosing first. The Taoist releases power in her hand and says that each of the caves is located in the mountains around the 18 peaks, and because of their isolated locations, these light orbs will guide them there, after which everyone will be able to guard the lands where the dwelling cave is located. The protagonist wonders if they're trying to make them security guards. A voice says the 1st innate dwelling cave is rich in spiritual chi of fire and wind, and one of the winners says they want the cave with fire and wind spiritual chi as it's suitable for them. It is said that the 2nd dwelling cave is abundant in spiritual chi of water, fire, and wood, and the 2nd winner says they will choose this one to grow stronger. The voice says the remaining dwelling cave will be his, containing all attributes of spiritual chi mixed together, but each of them is as abundant as in a common spiritual well. Han thinks this one is more suitable for him since he is cultivating 6 different spiritual foundations. But why does it have no color? He thanks them and says he's satisfied with this. Jin thinks imagining this kid reaching the top 3, it seems Zhuan wasn't wrong, and his potential is certainly impressive. He says that since the choices have been made, everyone can follow the light orb and return to their designated dwelling caves, and they can leave now. On the outskirts of the Pure Jade sect at the end of a forest, there's a mountain with a water spring. There's a small crack in the mountain, and a vibrant light emanates from it. The crack seems ordinary and extremely tight, fitting only one person. However, after walking a few steps, it suddenly opens up into a cave. A cave with a vast and flat floor and majestic houses. The cave's floor is fertile, with a beautiful spring, mulberry tree, and bamboo plants surrounding it. And its owner is trying to wear clothes that make him look like a foreigner while having fun. The protagonist asks if this is the divine mantle of the golden mystic cicada, and says the numinous treasure rewarded by the system is far from ordinary. It's very light, transparent, and has powerful defense. But he doesn't feel any difference after wearing it. He thinks its defense is as powerful as described by the system. An expert in the soul nascent realm won't be able to harm him. This is a sense of security he's never felt before. He can finally focus on cultivating. By the way, this time it's different. It will be hard for them to find him, and he already carved a phrase on the side of the entrance outside, hoping others can see that this dwelling cave has an owner. The location is very isolated, and it took half a day to find. Joe asks if he's sure this is Han's dwelling cave. Mo replies it was just a guess until now, but he's sure now and tells them to look there. On the stone is written, "Suffer today and be free tomorrow." Fan says it's fitting for his personality. Fuchu replies that yes, it's very him. He says they are there to visit him. Jue looks beside him and asks why the two of them are looking for him. Mo says the sect recently dispatched a large number of missions involving the demon cult, and asks if he's interested in joining them to take down one of the branches of the demon cult. Joe says he has investigated and that branch has many pills that can help with cultivation. The protagonist thanks them for the kindness and says he's not interested in leaving now. He needs to enter seclusion to make a breakthrough, and will pray that the journey will be successful. Fan asks about entering seclusion to make a breakthrough, and if he's going to break into the Golden Core realm. Han replies that's right, no other issues, he's going back into his isolated training. Someone puts a hand on his shoulder saying to wait. It's Fuchu, saying that it will be difficult to make a breakthrough into the Golden Core realm. The divine tribulation this time will be more terrifying than the one in the Foundation establishment realm. And if he joins the mission with them, and they find tribulation transcendence pills, he'll let him keep them. And he thinks that as expected, if he wants to persuade him, he needs to talk about cultivation-related matters. Cultivating doesn't just require opportunities, but also facilitators. A person cannot progress without these facilitators. He's frustrated, and his expression speaks for itself. Ju thinks that a simple, lower-level spiritual stone, and wonders if there's anything else to think about. Fan says that this mission is important. If they succeed, they will definitely gain merit, and their status in the Pure Jade sect will also increase in the future. And they will be able to leave their names in the cultivation world. The protagonist apologizes and says that he's not interested in fame or fortune, and if the Pure Jade sect faces problems in the future, he will definitely risk his life defending the sect even if it costs him his life. But at this moment, he just wants to cultivate in peace. Elsewhere, someone says they really don't understand these prodigies. Joe says he might be strong, but asks if he isn't very cowardly. Mo replies that it's true, and you can't stay secluded your entire life cultivating. And if you want to cultivate, you must fight for opportunities, and he's sure they'll come to their senses sooner or later. Fan says that unless he doesn't want the resources, it'll be hard for him to earn resources if he continues cultivating in isolation. And he thinks it doesn't matter. Once he gets elixirs, he might even be able to surpass him. And to wait for him, because he will show that he's no worse than him. Until then, the one who has nothing will regret it. Meanwhile, Han receives a reward for rejecting an invitation, the Belt of the Small Universe, which has a large alternative space and can be used with a ring or storage pouch. The belt is elastic and cannot be easily destroyed. 2 years later, Jue has his acquired belt, thinking that all 6 of his spiritual foundations have reached perfection, and now he can advance to the Golden Core realm, and he cannot be reckless, as only 2 or 3 out of 10 Foundation establishment cultivators can successfully advance. The protagonist is cultivating his energy, and the sky is dark. Han, with his eyes closed, thinks that apparently the Golden Core realm divine tribulation provokes the inner demons of the person, and if he fails, he will be taken by the divine tribulation or will go mad because of the inner demon. A creature asks what he desires, and if it's fame, fortune, or women, saying that he's strong enough and can stop hiding and show the world his strength, and that he will devote himself to asking the terrified for benevolence, or will subjugate all beings and reign for ages, and to choose his, and asks if he desires anything else. Jue asks if that's all coming from the inner demon, and if there are no other options to offer, still challenging it to spread his name, saying that it's terrible at choosing targets, and the inner demon is eliminated, and now he can go all out and make the breakthrough. The protagonist opens his eyes, looks at the sky, and says, "Speaking of the devil," lightning strikes from the sky. He activates the 6 paths of reincarnation and the divine mantle of the golden mystic cicada. A great light is emitted. 7 days later, a notification from the system appears, congratulating him for advancing to the Golden Core realm, and for obtaining an unmatched magic sword, the Keelan sword, a sword made from the bones of a Keelan, containing a Kylan soul and possessing the effect of exorcising evil, with the mystical power and the inheritance function of the 6 paths absorption technique had its seal removed. Han is excited and says that his life expectancy has increased again, and this is incredible. And he'll set a small goal, making a breakthrough to the soul nascent realm by the age of 100. And if he passes 100 years, he'll consider it a loss. And now he will take a look at his relationships before continuing to cultivate, until he opens his eyes wide and asks if the demon cult has attacked this many times, and says he thinks he's not safe even staying in the Pure Jade sect, and wonders if the demon cult has already attacked the Pure Jade sect and wonders how his master is doing. Better go and show her that he's fine. Jue observes and looks at the smoke below and reports of many injured disciples from the outer sect have reached the inner sect. Those with light wounds will remain outside and wait, and they will bring the severely wounded to the hall for treatment. Those who are recovering should try to gather in the northwest wing. The disciples are very discouraged. The protagonist observes, and Chang recognizes him and calls out, saying that he finally decided to return and the master asked him to meet her. Han goes to her room and greets her, saying that after the internal sect evaluation ended, this disciple rushed to cultivate and forgot to greet her and asks to be punished. The fairy asks if he still remembered to return and says she thought he had betrayed the sect. Ju tries to say something, but Zhuan interrupts him and says that the Pure Jade sect is about to face a disaster never seen before, and she will give him a chance. And he may abandon the Pure Jade sect. The protagonist asks about leaving the Pure Jade sect, wondering if this is a joke and if the sect is in trouble, and if he should choose the first option. The system gives him 2 choices. The first is to leave the sect and wander the world of self-cultivation, obtaining a vial of collection pills, or stay in the sect until its destruction, or until the demon cult stops targeting the Pure Jade sect, obtaining a magical tool and a magic book. Han asks about her. The master replies that she will live and be finished along with the Pure Jade sect. Jewis says that if this is the case, this disciple will live and be finished along with her. The fairy asks if he isn't afraid of losing his life. The protagonist wonders about fear, thinking that of course he is, but he has the divine mantle. The system notifies that Zhuan's acceptance of him has increased. Han wonders about 3 stars, and if she can't become his Tao companion with 1 more star. He thinks to let it go, as it's too annoying and goes against his original plan, and says that everyone will lose their life eventually. Life is precious, but it depends on her whether it will be filled with achievements or mediocrity, and he himself seeks longevity, but doesn't want to abandon her. He thinks that unless he faces a relentless opponent, he will definitely save his life first. The master says she didn't teach him anything and doesn't need to do that. Yue says no, and that even though she didn't teach him, his gratitude is deep, and she has presented him with opportunities many times. She also helped him resolve some potential problems, which he's grateful for, and he thinks that, to be honest, after being reborn and living for almost 60 years, she was the one who treated him best in this world and never blamed him or caused problems. And for such a good master, he wishes her the best. The fairy says, as expected of him, but things haven't gotten too bad yet, and he was considerate. Yue says that in fact, the master knew he had an extreme fear of the end, so she asked him to leave first. Zhuan asks if he's had any difficulties in cultivation lately, and says that he can cultivate with her just like his older sister, thinking that now, on second thought, she never taught him anything. It must have been difficult for him to cultivate alone. The protagonist says he doesn't need to worry. The master thinks about how he dares to refuse her guidance, and says he can leave now. He replies that he's leaving. The master tells Yue they need to get there first. She responds that it's fine. The fairy says to help her brother according to his plan, and everything is in the storage pouch. Chang responds that she understands. In Han's cave, he asks why his older sister is there and wonders why his older sister is invading his personal dwelling cave. Yue says the master asked her to place spiritual formations and plant spiritual herbs, and this is to increase the spiritual chi in his cave. The spiritual formation is made of redstone and needs to be infused with spiritual power to activate or deactivate it. This formation can also hide the entrance to the cave, and if someone tries to forcibly invade, they will be trapped in an illusion and unable to escape. The spiritual grass doesn't need care and will increase the aura surrounding it. He asks if this isn't too much, and Jue replies that he never thought he would have these things. Chang says that even if his cultivation isn't as good as hers, she is experienced in alchemy, talismans, spiritual formations, and exorcisms. The protagonist says that's incredible and thanks her a lot. His sister approaches and says that he doesn't need to thank her. Soon she will live with him and asks what he thinks. Han gets nervous and calls for her. Yue asks if he wants the chi from his cave. Jue stares at her and says about cultivation, and if that's all she knows, and to leave. 5 years later in the cave, the system is showing the Thunder Spiritual Foundation, third level of the Golden Core realm. The protagonist says that the sect master is having a hard time, and he heard from the master that he will frequently investigate the demon cult, and it's no wonder he keeps getting injured. The same thing happened with brother Mo and Joe, and luckily he didn't follow him. More system notifications arrive saying that an innate providence bearer has been detected and asks if he wants to check the origin. Han notices the innate providence and wonders if there's someone outside his dwelling cave. The system shows that it is Chen Santian and also displays his data. Jue realizes he is someone from the demon cult. Moreover, he is the oldest main disciple and wonders why he came to the Pure Jade sect, and if it weren't for the system, he wouldn't have noticed him, wondering if he came alone or if there is a large group hidden with him. He thinks that if he's alone, he'll have the advantage. Chen is in front of the cave reading the written phrase. He says it's ridiculous, and, as expected, everyone in the Pure Jade sect is a coward. Then he says to wait and asks why there's such an extensive writing there, in this jungle. He wonders if this is a dwelling cave and where the entrance is. The protagonist is hiding, saying that he dares to call him a coward, and says that he's eliminated, thinking that now that he's confirmed that he's alone, he should welcome him. Santian notices the intent to eliminate and lights are emitted. He widens his eyes. Han uses his triple shadow sword technique and attacks him. Chen wonders what kind of technique this is, one that can even drain spiritual chi. He thinks he can't retaliate. Santian is gravely injured and says to stop. Jue asks why he came to the Pure Jade sect. Chen replies that it's a misunderstanding and he was just passing through. He wonders who the hell he is, as he had already investigated everything in advance. And no elder in the Pure Jade sect has such a powerful sword technique, and says don't tell him he's a great elder of the Pure Jade sect. The protagonist asks if he isn't Santian, a demon cultivator and the oldest disciple of the demon cult, and what will happen to him if he delivers him to the Pure Jade sect. Chen is shocked and wonders how he knows about him. He says he was wrong and is sorry, asking for another chance. He thinks he's so young and handsome, and wonders if he's only at the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm, and wonders if he's the disciple of the Elder. Han wonders if he should tie him up and hand him over to the sect, and maybe use him as a hostage if the master is captured in the future. Santian puts the sword to his neck and says to let him go or he'll eliminate his disciple. Jue asks permission and says he has no disciple. Chen falls to the ground and says it was all a joke. He thinks the Elder is at the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm, and this must be a disguise. To be able to subjugate him and discover his identity, this Elder must be an expert. For him, it's impossible to escape. The protagonist wonders if this is all the oldest main disciple is capable of, thinking that he's still wondering, is he super weak, or is his triple shadow sword just that strong, and says no problem and to follow him. Santian thanks him for his mercy. They enter the cave and Han thinks he can't capture him against his will and needs to think of another way to make him stay. Chen notices that the entrance to the cave is hidden by several formations and wonders why he didn't notice it before. Jue thinks he was planning to deliver him to the master, but he's sure he'll try to escape even if it costs him his life, and can just eliminate him since he doesn't have the strength to subdue him. He won't dare to run because he's underestimating him. Then he calls for him, telling him to come and hit him with all his strength. Chen widens his eyes, thinking not to say that he's looking for an excuse to eliminate him, and says he knows he was wrong and reflected on his mistakes. The protagonist says that if he doesn't try, he'll still have the intention to catch him off guard later. Santian responds that he wouldn't dare. Han thinks he has the divine mantle of the golden mystic cicada protecting him, and it can even protect his head. This guy won't be able to hurt him, and says he won't blame him. Chen says he will bow to him. Jue says that from now on he'll stay there to help him plant spiritual herbs and clean the house. He can even cultivate there too, and wonders if he's really that scared, since he's never seen anyone so cowardly as him. Still in the same place, particles are released above the plants and around the area. The protagonist is cultivating. Chen looks back and notices that he definitely likes to cultivate, as he hasn't left through that door once. He's been there for a year and the information will be delayed at this pace. And he's the oldest main disciple, and if he doesn't return after all this time, it will definitely attract the attention of the elders from his master's sect, and wonders what he should do, and if he should just attack him by surprise, thinking that he dares to cultivate carelessly and this might be his chance. And if he's strong enough, he would have made him pay 100 times more, so Chen runs toward him to attack and thinks that he's the formidable demon from the demon cult. Han looks back. Santian disguises himself, apologizing for the disturbance, and says he has a mosquito. A system notification appears saying that his hatred has increased and is now at 4 stars. Chen says he will clean the cave's ventilation now and should receive plenty of sunlight. Jui thinks that this situation has been repeating over the course of an entire year, and he never tortured him during all this time, keeping an eye on him, not even stepping outside to contact the sect. His self-hatred has now reached 4 stars, a point where he can fight with himself until the end. Santian thinks he can only wait until he goes outside and escape, doubting he will be able to keep cultivating non-stop. He thinks to wait until he escapes and brings the cult to crush the pure Jade sect. When the day comes, he will make him pay for the suffering he endured for an entire year. Then Chen widens his eyes. The protagonist uses his triple shadow sword technique grouped in a line and says he gave him enough chances but didn't like it. If he had stayed obedient, he would have been a valuable hostage, but now he no longer needs him. He eliminates Santian without hesitation. He thinks things will get annoying now. If he follows the path of stories from the countless novels he read in his past life, this person should have a way to contact his demon veteran allies, and the moment he lost his life, those veterans should have felt it, and now they will come to threaten him. If he eliminates the small, the big comes. Eliminate the big, the oldest comes. Eliminate the oldest, and an even greater one will descend from the heavens. Then, energies begin to stir. An elder is summoned there. Han wonders if an elder is really appearing now. The old man says he eliminated his disciple and the finalization awaits him. He asks if he has the courage to say his name. Jue replies that his name is Cao Cao and asks who he is. The old man says he is Zhang Kunmo of the demon cult and he will remember his name and awaits his elimination. He disappears. The system displays his information. Zhang has developed immense hatred toward him, and the current hatred is at 5 stars. The protagonist thinks this is quite high, and at the 8th level of the soul nascent realm, it will be difficult to deal with him unless he is a cultivator of the soul formation realm, and says it's better to contact the sect and ask them to send someone to clean the floor. 8 years later, still in the cave, the redhead arrives calling for her husband and asking if he is there. Han is startled by her and thinks that it wasn't just his older sister, but she also managed to get in and wonders if the formations are just for decoration. He asks what the reason is for her visiting him. Xing says she's here to see him. Jue says that she's here because of the pure jade pills, and the redhead says these are the pure jade pills she's been keeping for all these years, and to feel free to use them. The protagonist says to take them back as he no longer needs them. Xing asks why, and he replies that she's already at the 3rd level of the Foundation Establishment realm and should use them herself. The redhead falls silent. Then she notices something and says not to tell her that he's... Han interrupts her, telling her not to tell anyone about his advancement, and if she wants to be his Dao companion, she needs to work hard, or else, after a few hundred years, she will become an immortal, and all that will remain of him will be bones, and her deep love will then become her punishment. Xing says he's right and she won't delay any longer. She can cultivate in peace and will help him get some golden core cultivation pills. Jue says that's not it, and that's not what he meant. In the demon cult, skull heads are scattered around. Duan asks if he hasn't captured Li after all this time. Zhang says Li must not have intentionally returned to the Pure Jade sect and he is diverting the numbers. They will just ignore him and attack the Pure Jade sect. The people there say that besides Li, there is another powerful master in the sect, and they need to be cautious when sending members, and this old man is wanting to personally lead disciples to attack the Pure Jade sect. They ask the leader for his opinion. He responds not to rush, and they've already invested a lot in Chen, and now the damage is done to the Pure Jade sect, and he won't hold back. This time it will be different. He's about to advance to the Soul Formation realm, and if successful, the fight against the Pure Jade sect will be an easy victory. They ask about the Soul Formation realm. Kunmo asks if he's so confident. Tongtian says he's been preparing for this for decades. He's 90% confident, just needs to wait for another 30 years. They say to go and win, and he can wait for 30 years. Destroy the Pure Jade sect, eliminate the man, burn the woman, make all cultivators submit to the cult, and his disciple will be avenged. Zhang says that the Pure Jade sect must wait for its destruction and make the most of the little time they have left. In another location, 10 years have passed, and the protagonist feels himself growing stronger daily over the years. He feels wonderful and fulfilled as the nascent soul realm is calling him. Thunder and Wind spiritual base, 9th level of the Golden Core realm, Fire spiritual base, 3rd level of the Golden Core realm, and other spiritual bases, 1st level of the Golden Core realm. Han says that he is so happy. Chang says that she is there to see him. Jui asks how she entered, and she replies that she made the formation herself. Of course, she knows how to enter. She brought some treasures that can be planted in the well to further increase the spiritual chi in the cave. In the future, it might even become the cave with the best spiritual chi in the Pure Jade sect. The protagonist thanks her. Yue says not to thank her. Everything was given by the master, and she is just helping with the manual work. Han thinks the master is the best. Chung says that since he entered isolation, the Jade Serenity Peak has received some new disciples, and Brother Iron, who was below him, unfortunately lost his life. Jue is surprised to hear this and asks if it was finalized. Yue says that Brother Iron's qualifications were too weak, and his life expectancy was exhausted, so he passed away. But before he died, he still wanted to meet with the younger brother, which is what the alchemy apprentice said. The protagonist asks why he wanted to meet with him. Chung asks how he will know and says that he wasn't even close to him. Han thinks about Brother Iron. He remembers when he was little. People said that his parents fled after abandoning him, that his parents were cruel and had only 6 years and what they should do. He asks if they should look for them and says he is an unhappy child. The master responds that in that case, he should let him take over his parents' work. The fields still need attention, and the men said he was still a child and would not be able to do the heavy work. Iron says to let him do what he can. It's better than starving to death in the forest. Jue thinks well that there were times when he was petty. However, he never hurt him all these years. He even raised him. And the truth is, in the past, he hated him. But if it weren't for him, he might not even be here. And probably that's the path of cultivation. Everything has a cause and effect. Some people leave early, leaving an air of melancholy. In the present time, the protagonist says that time is both long and short, and his sister needs to work hard on cultivation, because if she also leaves, he would feel lost. Chang calls him foolish and says that she thought he didn't care about her. Han says that the spiritual grass has been planted. It's time to return to cultivation. His sister says she will strive to accompany him on the cultivation path. Jue gets up, looks to the side, and sees a writing with Iron's name, saying he hopes he is born into a good family in the next life. Another decade later, even without the help of pills, all the protagonist's spiritual bases, except for Earth and Wood, reach the 9th level of the Golden Core realm, and his strength is close to the nascent soul realm. As his 100th birthday approaches, the system opens a new function. Han is curious and asks what it is. The system congratulates him for reaching the age of 100 years and unlocking the simulated challenge function. Jue wonders about the challenge and asks if there are no adverse effects like injury or something like that, saying this is too much of a cheat. The system asks if he wants to activate the simulated challenge. The protagonist clicks yes and says he never knew how strong he was, but now he can finally try. A great light is emitted. Han moves, appearing in another empty place. The system congratulates him, saying welcome to the simulated challenge IU training field. Jue thinks this feels like a dream and wonders if he is inside his consciousness. Soon, more notifications come in, saying that he can choose a character from the relationship tab to be his opponent. The protagonist says that fighting people on his side feels strange, but anyway, he will choose the strongest. He clicks on Li and the system notifies that he has selected Qingzi from the 8th level of the nascent soul realm. Han thinks they look exactly the same and greets the Secmaster. Li approaches to attack him quickly and Jue dodges, thinking that he is fast. This simulated challenge has no martial respect. He uses the 7 illusory steps and thinks that he started attacking without any warning and is even fighting with all his strength. He needs to go all out. The protagonist uses his Keelan sword technique and the triple shadow sword technique, causing a huge explosion. The smoke dissipates. Han doesn't understand much and realizes that the triple shadow sword didn't affect his opponent at all, and he is quite muscular with this golden body. He wonders if this is the body of the celestial constellation. Qingzi tries to attack him again. Zhou uses the 9 Dragons Demon Expulsion Seal, forming a circle of power and throwing it towards his opponent, causing a great impact. Energies are released, Li holds on, and the protagonist realizes that the 9 Dragons Demon Expulsion Seal is certainly powerful and forced him into this state. It can only repel him, but not defeat him. And he thinks that dealing with an 8th level nascent soul cultivator is still very difficult for him. The system asks if he wants to reduce the opponent's strength, showing the adjustable range from 8th level nascent soul to 1st level foundation establishment realm. Han says that this simulated challenge is getting more and more interesting. At the Pure Jade sect in the main peak hall, a voice asks how this is possible and if this is true. Qingzi responds that yes, Duan transcended the tribulation a month ago and is now consolidating his cultivation. He is already an opponent of the soul formation realm and asks how they will fight him. The Taoist asks where the master is and if he hasn't cultivated the soul essence yet, wondering if he should be reaching the soul formation realm soon. Li answers no and says that his soul essence is just a mystical power. Reaching the soul formation realm will be difficult. The presenter asks if they could still ask for help, as they can still request assistance. Li says that he has already sent letters to other Orthodox sects asking for help, but there has been no response yet. And if only the great ancestor were here, his strength would be at the middle levels of the soul formation realm, but he left for the outside world years ago and has never returned. It is impossible to find him. He suggests that he and the Great Elder will handle Duan when the time comes, but a voice says no. Qingzi replies that they have no choice with their current strength, It will be useless no matter who faces him. Not to mention Duan, none of them can break his golden celestial constellation body, and they are sure they understand. As the strongest technique of the pure Jade sect, until now, no one has been able to break it. Perhaps there is a chance against him. Elsewhere, the protagonist is using the golden celestial constellation body, destroyed in pieces, with today's record having defeated a stronger realm, 5th level of the nascent soul realm. The sky emits lightning everywhere until one heads towards Han, and he uses his nascent soul realm heavenly tribulation technique and thinks that, as the saying goes, a channel is formed where water flows. Over the past 10 years, all his 6 types of spiritual bases reached the 9th level of the golden core realm. Nascent soul, he is sure he will be able to advance, until someone is looking for him, calling him brother. It's Chang, thinking that the demon cult will soon invade them, and wondering why he is ascending now. She asks if his brother is advancing to the golden core realm, and says that if the members of the demon cult attack from this side, they will interrupt his ascension. If the ascension is forcibly interrupted, his brother will suffer severe retaliation. She can't let that happen, and as his senior, must protect him. However, her strength will be difficult to protect him. Therefore, she will wait until he finishes, then take him to the inner sect to hide safely. Until then, she can only wait there and defend him. It's a pity, but she can only blame herself for liking him. First, she will set up a protective formation. 10 days later, many people move with the intention to eliminate. Yue wonders about the demonic aura and asks if they are there. She says it's emanating from the main peak and wonders if the demon cult attacked from the other side. She says it's a relief that they avoided Han's brother's cave. She thinks that if she takes him to the inner sect now, it may cause him even more harm. Thus, it might be better. While brother Han is in his cave, he will be safe. She feels sorry she needs to go first and assist the master, and she swore to lose her life and live with her. She also swears that her brother can't leave there. The protagonist ascends to the nascent soul realm and thinks that the nascent soul realm feels very dominating. Even his 6 paths of reincarnation have evolved. The nascent soul realm is like a threshold. In this realm, the cultivator's power can interact with the heavens, the earth, and the 5 elements to obtain supreme power. Now all his spiritual bases, possessing 6 types of spiritual energies, can merge into a new and powerful spiritual base. The 6 paths spiritual base. From here on, he can directly absorb the spiritual chi from heaven and earth. Now he no longer needs to cultivate each spiritual base one at a time, and his cultivation will become much more efficient with the 6-path spiritual base. He receives a message from the system, congratulating him for advancing to the nascent soul realm and giving him a mystical power as a reward. He chose the swordsman path, Celestial Ghost Sword's heavenly punishment. The system warns him that his sect is currently under attack by the demon cult. Han asks if they have already started attacking. He receives another alert from the system and asks again what it is this time. The system says that the new strongest individual in the pure Jade sect has been detected. Duan, leader of the demon cult, 1st level of the soul formation realm, and asks if he wants to start the simulated challenge. Chue says about the soul formation realm cultivator and that no one in the sect can deal with him. He thinks he should stay calm since he defeated a nascent soul cultivator when he was only in the golden core realm, and now he might have a chance against the soul formation realm. The protagonist says he will try and presses yes, starting the challenge. After a while elsewhere, the smoke dissipates. The disciples are being attacked, and Zhang calls for Cao Cao to finalize things and asks why he isn't there. If he ran away and says it's as expected from the pure Jade sect, they are all trash. Kunmo looks to the side and says that the cultivation leader should finish things up there soon, shouting for all the disciples to hear his orders. Burn everything and eliminate everyone, loot everything. They respond that they understand. Zhang says that since he can't find Cao Cao, he will use other disciples from the pure Jade sect, offering them for the honor and soul of his disciple. Elsewhere, the challenge is over, lasting 1 minute. Han says Duan's name and asks if it was him. A great lightning bolt is emitted. The skull releases a great energy. The Great Elder thinks that this aura is very terrifying. Someone starts laughing and tells them to give up. It's Duan saying that if they kneel and beg, maybe he'll make their suffering less. Li says that the disciples of the pure Jade sect would rather lose their lives than surrender to the demon cult. He goes to attack his opponent from behind, but Tongtian says he is too slow and throws him away. The Great Elder says it's impossible. The bones behind him are innate black magnets, and the spiritual energy will immediately dissolve once absorbed by them. That demon can drain them with just that treasure. Qingxi asks what they should do. The master, tired, breathes heavily and thinks about Han, betting that he is still in seclusion, hoping no one discovers the cave dwelling. She also thinks about Chang and everyone else, feeling that she failed to protect them. All she has left is to be finished in front of them. Duan says that the grudges that lasted for centuries will finally end today. Someone approaches. Tongtian says it's a pity, she is such a beautiful woman. Zhu runs, and the disciples say to follow her and not let her escape. She thinks she's already exhausted her spiritual energy trying to flee from them, and she can't even fly on a sword now. Since she will lose her life, she prefers to die before letting them take advantage of her. If only that guy, if only he had cultivated as much as he did, this situation would never have happened. She wonders if she will be able to find him in her next life. Jue looks at her and asks why she came down here. Ju widens her eyes as she realizes she's in his arms and asks if this is paradise and if they've been finished. The system notification shows that his acceptance of her has increased, and the current acceptance is 5.5 stars. Elsewhere, a voice says they've finally found him. Mo wonders how this is possible. The protagonist throws the girl to him and tells him to take care of her, as he's going to the main peak. Fuchu wonders how much he has cultivated, and Ju says he's also in paradise. Mo thinks that the 3 people around him were Golden Core Realm cultivators, and the 3 of them were eliminated instantly by Brother Han while passing by. Elsewhere, with terrifying auras surrounding the place, Jue realizes the situation looks grim. There's a Soul Formation Realm cultivator's soul from the main peak, and he can only blame himself for being so late. He looks to the side, the disciples are about to attack, and asks what those 3 flashes are. Chang wonders, 3? She looks quickly and realizes an attack is coming, cutting everyone in half. Liu asks if they've all been eliminated. Xing approaches and says that Duan eliminated her parents, and she would rather lose her life than return there. An opponent says she dares to reject his goodwill and his sword is covered with poison. The redhead looks and calls for her husband. The opponent asks if she agreed that easily, saying it looks like she understands things quickly, and asks if she didn't say that people only listen after going through hardships. The protagonist appears behind him with the intention to eliminate. The wind intensifies due to the pressure, and the opponent is eliminated with just 1 strike. Xing looks surprised, thinking that this person is second in the ranking of the demon cult's main disciples, and her husband took care of him in just 1 hit. Han says she should find a place to hide, this location is no longer safe. The redhead responds that she understands and that he should be careful. The system notification shows that her acceptance has increased to 6 stars. Jay thinks it's his damn charm and strength. Later, still in the same place, Duan asks if this is all the Pure Jade sect has to offer, saying that previously, all the cult did was use human corpses to cultivate poisonous insects, yet they were targeted by other sects for centuries just because of that. Now that he is a soul formation cultivator, he wants to see who dares stop him. The master is gravely injured. Li is without arms, on the brink of death alongside the Great Elder. Tongtian says that if they use all the sect's cultivators to cultivate poisonous insects, it will help increase the power of their sect. When that day comes, the demon cult will be the #1 sect in the Great Yan Dynasty, and asks if the foundation of the Pure Jade sect, which has lasted for centuries, will come to an end today. The master opens her eyes, and Duan asks if she still refuses to give up, and why doesn't she try to guess how many people from the Pure Jade sect are still alive? The fairy tells him to go to hell. Tongtian attacks and calls her a filthy-mouthed prostitute, telling her to feel free to curse as much as she wants on the way to the afterlife. Someone shouts, "No, it's Qingzi." An enormous explosion occurs, but Zhuan is not hit because the protagonist used the illusory 7 steps to get her out of there, and asks if she's all right. The master is surprised, and Li says it seems he made a misjudgment. His sister really chose a good disciple. The Great Elder says he's starting to like him a little, but unfortunately, they're going to lose their lives here today. Qingzi shouts, asking why he came there, and tells him to run quickly. The fairy tells her to listen and run as fast as she can, and from now on, she's no longer a disciple of the Pure Jade sect. Han says he came there because of her. She says she will hold the opponent off and tells him to run now. Duan asks if a cultivator at the miserable 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm dares to interrupt his fun, questioning if he's not brave, and says that if he kneels and reveres him 3 times, he'll spare his life and give him a chance to join the demon cult. The system notifies him about 2 choices. First, to follow the master's orders and run if he escapes successfully, or eliminate the cult leader. Ju thinks this is all thanks to the simulated challenge, otherwise he would have chosen to flee, but now he says that he doesn't need a chance, and he came there to eliminate him. Tongtian says that's a lot of arrogance. The protagonist thinks that even the most casual cultivator is full of emotions. Someone calls him Cao Cao and says he was hiding there. The Great Elder says it's Zhang. Duan laughs and says that he doesn't even need to deal with pests like them. With his strength, the Elder can eliminate all of them by himself, and he will just stay there and enjoy all the despair in the face of the end until there's an explosion behind him, and everyone is surprised, asking if he eliminated a nascent soul cultivator in an instant, and how is this possible? The master notices the spiritual energy. A huge energy moves around Han, and he asks if he's ready, saying it's time to throw the trash out, and that he's there to send him to the other world. Tongtian asks if he thinks he can fight with him just because he hit Elder Kunmo once. Zhang says it's shameful, very shameful, insults him, and says he's going to eliminate him. He activates his anomalous demon lantern. The Great Elder says for the boy to run quickly, as this magical treasure can refine someone's soul. Kunmo says that this soul will be offered to his disciple Chen. His disciple can see him and is taking revenge for him. The protagonist turns and uses his triple shadow sword technique, decapitating him with just that strike. Everyone is very surprised. Duan says that's interesting. Han asks what happened now, saying he's qualified. Tongtian replies that for someone to be able to eliminate an elder of his cult at his age, he's fully qualified to be an elder of his cult with his strength, and asks what he thinks about joining his cult, saying that for money, company, techniques, or land, he can give everything, and asks what he thinks. An attack approaches his face, but Duan activates his shield quickly. Ju thinks that to be able to block his triple shadow sword, Tongtian says that behind him is the innate black magnet. This treasure can absorb spiritual energy and is immune to most attacks unless his energy is stronger than his. He will never be able to touch him, and he already gave him a chance. He can only blame himself for being arrogant and asks if he really thinks he will spare him just because he's talented. He says there are countless talents out there in the world and asks why he thinks there are so few prodigies in this world. He says it's because they need to survive on their own skills, and most of them lose their lives along the way, just like he will be finished. A huge aura is released with intense pressure. Zhou thinks this aura is quite terrifying. The Great Elder wonders if this is the strength of someone in the soul formation realm. Duan says that since he insists on being stubborn, he will let him experience a bit of his suffering and asks if he's not a supporter of the Pure Jade sect. Then he will eliminate everyone from the sect right in front of him, and he wants to see how he will protect his sect. The protagonist says that he is noisy and asks if it's over, Jessica, and what he means is if there are any last words. Tongtian asks about last words and says it's better to keep that to himself. He feels a strange sensation and wonders what's happening, as if he's trapped in something, wondering why he doesn't feel anything and if his body can't move and what kind of bizarre technique this is. Han uses the celestial punishment of the Ghost Divine Sword. A great light is emitted. The master wants to know how this is possible, and the others say that Duan is gone. A nascent soul cultivator eliminated a soul formation cultivator. The Great Elder thinks that he isn't surprised and that it wasn't the fault of the mystical power last time, but rather that this brat is incredibly strong. A talent that defies the gods? The Pure Jade sect must keep this person. Ju thinks that the problem still needs to be resolved, as only his body was destroyed, since his 6 paths of absorption technique can still feel an essence of the soul trying to escape, meaning he still has a chance to restore his body and can avoid this threat. People tell him to wait a bit and ask where he's going, saying that Paradise is protecting his Pure Jade sect and that the sect actually has a very strong disciple. They ask about the disciple and if he joined the inner sect evaluation before, as they don't remember. Smoke dissipates, and Tongtian's soul says that it's a good thing he escaped during the chaos, and they must not have noticed, refusing to accept it because he's just a nascent soul, asking about that person, who the hell he is. The protagonist approaches and asks if he's looking for himself, gives his name, and says that he's going to end this centuries-old grudge between the Pure Jade sect and the demon cult today. He uses the 6 paths of soul absorption technique. Duan says that he will never leave him in peace. Even if he becomes a ghost, the Honorable Demon Sect will never leave him alone until he disappears and is eliminated. Han asks about the Honorable Demon Sect. The system notifies that he successfully eliminated a soul formation cultivator and will receive a jar of unmatched pills, congratulating him for obtaining the jar of pills, and Xiao developed a hatred against him, with 5 stars. Zhuo, not understanding, asks who Xiao is. Above the nascent soul realm, there are a few other realms from the smallest to the largest: soul formation, void amalgamation, fusion, transcendence tribulation, and finally, Mahayana. The system notifies that Xiao, from the 2nd level of the void amalgamation realm, is full of hatred for him because he eliminated his puppet, Duan, and can't wait to rip his bones out and refine his soul. The protagonist says he knew an even older one would come to cause problems, 2nd level of the void amalgamation realm, and thinks he definitely can't defeat him if he faces him. It may be hard to predict the result even if he ascends to the soul formation realm. The Taoist says for everyone to look there quickly, and there's something wrong with the innate black magnet. A lot of energy starts coming out, summoning a creature that says Duan is so useless that he can't even stall for a while, and it looks like he'll have to search for the next one now. This Taoist companion has good mystical power, eliminating a soul formation realm cultivator while being just a nascent soul realm cultivator. Quite impressive. Han is about to use his triple sword technique, but an energy interrupts him, saying it's useless. And it's a cultivator of the void amalgamation realm, and he won't be able to harm his soul essence with his mystical power. If only Duan could hold on for a little longer, he could have recovered a little more. Disciples ask about the void amalgamation realm and who he is. The creature responds that he is an elder of the demon Tamer sect of the Northern Kingdom, Xiao, and he's been planning this for years but never thought things would go wrong here. and he'll remember this debt. Jue asks if all he means is that Tongtian was stalling for him. Jiao replies, of course, and that trash told him the pure Jade sect was no match for him and asks if he's trying to make him talk. The protagonist says that it seems his soul essence is different from normal, and he thinks the real body is injured and the body was extinguished, asking if that's right. The elder of the Demon Tamer sect responds that he has no right to know and simply despises mistreating a beginner, and that it doesn't matter, it took too long to bring this information back to the Demon Tamer sect. Just wait for the demon cult's revenge. Li says it's no surprise that the inferior viridescent cult was ambushing the 10,000 demons kingdom, so it was the Demon Tamer sect that was secretly ordering them. The Great Elder says that the viridescent cult must have been destroyed after today. Qingzi says that the priority now is to deal with the demonic cultivators inside the sect, and Han can handle it. Jue apologizes to the master and says it's all his fault and he will heal her right now. A voice calls him a brat and says that she's not that injured. The protagonist says that the master is the most important to him, and she can go alone if she wants. He wonders if she's joking because dealing with the entire demon cult by himself will boost his fame, and people fear becoming famous, just like pigs fear getting fat. The fairy smiles. People say they're jealous of her because if they had a disciple like him, another man says not to talk about it as his last disciple stole a divine superior pill from him last month, and he ran away and still hasn't come back, so there's no comparison. The elder from the Thunder Celestial Peak asks what his identity is, saying that with his cultivation, there's no chance he's a disciple that the Pure Jade sect could support. Han answers that since fate brought them together, all he needs to know is that he is now a disciple of the Pure Jade sect, and he will never harm this sect. Voices tell the Thunder Elder that he shouldn't have asked such a thing and ask who in the world doesn't have their secrets, saying that if the question makes him leave, they will eliminate him. The disciples from the demon cult search for the cult leader and say they can't sense his aura anymore and they think they saw Kunmo's corpse, wondering how this is possible. Li says to eliminate them quickly and he'll make him the next sect master when it's over. Jin says he just healed his arm and tells him not to overexert himself. Qingzi says that first, they need to heal the master until he stops and says that the leader of the demon cult is eliminated. Every disciple of the Pure Jade sect hear his command and eliminate all the demonic cultivators. The disciples of the demon cult say this is bad and to run quickly because the leader is finished, and a voice yells to eliminate them. They run away desperately. Jin says it's good they fled as it will reduce the number of casualties in the sect, and the others say they will definitely make them pay in the future. The inferior viridescent cult will never dare to attack them again. A voice calls for the elders and says that it's certain that each of them has seen Han's strength. Considering his performance this time, from now on, he will become the vice master of the Pure Jade sect. It's Li who continues saying that as for himself, he won't be able to advance further, and the future of the Pure Jade sect depends on these young people now, and they can't allow him to leave the sect. Jue has the potential, his strength qualifies him for this position, and he is sure that everyone agrees with this. The protagonist says he's against this. Qingzi asks why. Han answers that all he wants is to cultivate, and being the vice master of the sect is exhausting, asking how he'll find time to cultivate. The Great Elder says to just give him an elder title and let him enjoy the benefits of being a vice master of the sect. Unless the sect is in trouble, no one is allowed to disturb him. Jue thinks that he's so wise and says, it's okay by the way, that person from earlier was a void amalgamation cultivator. The old man says not to worry, and as he imagined, he only has the essence of the soul. It's more likely that Duan promised to restore his body in exchange for giving him a chance to advance. And the reason he held on longer was probably to use a certain secret technique to absorb the spiritual chi and vitality of the Pure Jade sect. Moreover, the Northern Kingdom is far from here, it's on the other side of the world. Even if he hurries there, the Orthodox sect will never let them cause trouble, so there's no need to worry. The protagonist wonders how he can't worry, and thinks that it's better to be safe than sorry and he should cultivate in isolation quickly and advance to the void amalgamation realm. After the remaining members of the demon cult fled, the inner sect of the Pure Jade sect began to recover and plan its reconstruction. Meanwhile, a rumor about a powerful figure started circulating within the inner sect. The master says that the Pure Jade sect succeeded in escaping the crisis this time, all thanks to the sect Eliminator of Divinities, who eliminated the divinity with a swing of his sword and turned the situation in their favor. People comment and say that to think the sect had a hidden expert in the soul formation realm, from now on, the sect Eliminator of Divinities is their idol, and asks if anyone is interested in joining the Eliminator of Divinities fan club, saying that she heard he's quite handsome, and he eliminated with one strike. The Demon Eliminator Elder is magnificent, and everyone should salute him. The master says that's enough, and everyone is dismissed, and those who wish to stay can remain, while the rest can leave now. They respond affirmatively and leave. Han stays in the room, and the fairy asks if there's something he wants to say. Ju asks if there's something he wants to say. Zhuan says to tell her who the hell he is and why he came to the Pure Jade sect, and Li is willing to let it slide, but as her master, she must know everything. And isn't it admirable that she never needed his guidance and wonders if she should address him as fellow Taoist in the future? The protagonist responds that there's no need for all that, and she must already know his past from Brother Iron, asking if she doesn't believe in his talent. The fairy says that even assuming he has unparalleled talent, she asked where his skills and techniques came from. Han thinks it's no surprise that the master doubts him, and since a nascent soul eliminating a soul formation is quite outrageous, no one will believe it. Besides, he has access to many resources even while in seclusion. Even an idiot could notice something's off, and he says he'll tell her but can't tell anyone else. He starts telling that he was a child full of innocence, loved drinking beast milk and living a carefree life. One day, he found a ring under a tree struck by lightning. Since the child wanted to return the item to its owner, he decided to hand it over to the officer, but never imagined that an immortal lived inside the ring. The immortal, obviously interested in him, tried to give him an opportunity. The immortal said his body was wonderful and full of purity and seemed to be a rare talent. Since fate had brought them together, he had a yellow class technique he wanted to grant him. Ju continues, saying that after that he frequently received dharma transmitted from the immortal's dreams, and the old immortal even said the child would definitely become an immortal. But the path ahead would be arduous, so the child cultivated in seclusion every day and avoided trouble, and he thinks the story is getting more and more far-fetched, betting that the master won't swallow this. She says that this was the case and that it has happened before, asking if that's it, why he took the lead in saving them, saying that the Pure Jade sect never treated him well before and believes that he doesn't consider the sect as his home. The protagonist responds that this is true, but he lived for 100 years, and there aren't many people who care in his life, but all those he cares about are obviously in the sect, and the most important of them even said she would live and lose her life with the sect. He receives a notification from the system, saying that the fairy's acceptance has increased, and it's at 3.5. Zhuan asks what he plans to do now and if it's to continue his reclusion as always. Han responds that's exactly it, and who knows when that monster from the Void Amalgamation realm will come and attack them, so he needs to get stronger and faster. The master says it's okay, and he can go. In the cave, Yue thinks that before, people used to think he was a coward and spoke poorly of him, but now they almost kiss his feet and praise him a lot, and still thinking that, as expected, the strong rule everything. It's an unchangeable fact. This proves that cultivating in seclusion was the right choice, and if he had cultivated a few years less, it would have been hard for him to stay alive now. Opportunities are only for those who are prepared, and he needs to continue doing his best to cultivate in the future. Chang approaches and says that she's here, and the sect has collected some natural treasures that can help increase the spiritual qi in his cave residence, and she's here to help him plant them. There's also a spiritual qi collector formation matrix. The protagonist thanks her for her hard work. Yue says to stop playing and that he's now the Demon Slayer Elder, asking how she can continue being his older sister. The system shows her status. She looks surprised when she sees that her younger brother has approached and is very close. He says that if she continues working hard on cultivation and doesn't slack off, she'll always be his older sister. Chang says she's doing her best in cultivation and asks how she can compare to her younger brother. Han says he has a request. She says to tell her as she can fulfill all of them. Jue thinks he's been waiting for this and asks if he can bother her to add another formation matrix in the Still Cave, one that can prevent fire and thieves. 3 years later, once the Pure Jade sect finished its preparations, the sect master led the disciples from the 10 peaks to attack the inferior, viridescent cult. The remaining 8 peaks were left to guard the sect. The inferior cult, which lost strength after the elimination of Duan and Zhang, was quickly subdued by the attack from the Pure Jade sect. The wicked viridescent cult was finally destroyed after hundreds of years. This news shocked the cultivation world of the Great Yan. The prestige of the Pure Jade sect increased significantly, and the fame of the Demon Slayer Elder began to circulate in the cultivation world. However, only his name was recognized by the world and no one knew his identity. The protagonist is at the second level of the realm and feels a sensation. The system notifies that the hidden conquest has been completed. Duan is finished, and the inferior viridescent cult has been destroyed. In addition to the original reward, Divine Cognition Pills, he also obtained the treasure, Demon Binding Rope, and a secret spell manual. Later, elsewhere, lightning is released from the sky. The Elder of the Thunder Celestial Peak asks if those demonic cultivators are there to attack them again and says to prepare for battle. The bald man asks if the inferior viridescent cult hasn't been destroyed. Li responds that maybe they are demonic cultivators from other cults and asks what he thinks. The Great Elder says to stay calm and uses his energy perception technique, noticing the peak of spiritual energy came from Han's house. They respond that there's nothing to worry about then. The lightning is released above Jue, but he uses the great Chilios Cosmos storm spell and says that he finally has an area effect skill, and this is exactly the type of skill he likes. Let's test the 5 consecutive storms. Until he looks to the side and notices something. Qingzi asks if he's busy. The protagonist asks if she needs something. Li responds that he has something to discuss with him, and if the elder needs anything, he can talk to him. He has already informed the other elders, as anything regarding him is a top priority for the Pure Jade sect. They enter the cave. Han responds that he has no request, and all he wants is to live his life peacefully. Qingzi says that, thinking about it, this cave residence seems a bit cramped. Jue responds that it's fine and he's used to it. Li asks how about moving to the main peak to cultivate, saying that place is huge and comfortable. The protagonist responds that no, and thanks him. Qingzi says that since that's the case, she won't force him into anything. And as for this innate cave residence, the sect will help renew it using the best resources. There's also another matter she wants to discuss, asking if he would be willing to accept a disciple. Han asks about the disciple. Li responds that this young man has enormous potential, and all he needs to do is offer him a bit of guidance whenever he's free. When he grows in the future, he could be of great help. The system notifies that an innate providence bearer has been detected. Yang Tiandong, he possesses the language of a demon saint, born half human, half demon, and his cultivation potential is unparalleled. However, when he was young, he lost control and turned into a demon, injuring his fellow disciples and was imprisoned by the viridescent cult. Luckily, the sect saved him. Jue wonders if this is another protagonist-like character. Yang greets the Demon Slayer Elder. The protagonist says that it's fine to accept him as a disciple, but he must allow him to learn cultivation techniques from the Pure Jade sect, and he is only responsible for teaching him spells and mystical powers. Li says that's fine. He comes with a box and says that it won't be a problem to learn the cultivation techniques, but he must contribute and earn merits to learn the secret techniques. And these are the tokens that represent him, which he can take and give to the disciples in the future. Han asks if he's implying that he should accept several disciples in the future. Qingzi says she's leaving, and that the two can talk and get to know each other. Jue stares at him and says he's already deduced his past, mentioning his disciple's name and also saying that he is a half-human, half-demon who was imprisoned by the viridescent cult in the past. Tian recalls Li saying that the identity is the same, and to remember not to tell him about the past and his divine sense, thinking it seems that a cultivator at the soul formation realm is needed to uncover the hidden secret technique in this feather, and he can't wait to discover everything about it. He says he will accept it and study it first. A cultivator must work hard to cultivate as a beginner, and must cultivate spiritual energy for 10 years. After that, he will teach him spells. Tian thanks him and says to wait, asking about the 10 years. Han asks what that's about now. The disciple responds that it's nothing and will start cultivating. 10 years later, still in the cave, Jue is at the 4th level of the nascent soul realm, thinking it took him 10 years to get here. Finally, his master has woken up and has been sitting in the same place for 10 years without moving, and will soon get hemorrhoids. The protagonist is impressed and realizes that he went from the 1st to the 6th level of the Foundation Establishment realm, and his cultivation speed is pretty good. He has talent for cultivation and asks how he felt over these 10 years. Tian says he benefited drastically from cultivating over 10 years, and even understood some principles. Han thinks this is nonsense, as he was in seclusion for many, many years, but never understood anything, and says that in that case, he can go out and complete some missions. The disciple asks if he can really go out and what kind of mission it would be. Jue responds that he remembers the sect's mission building has a list of monthly contributions, and he can return as soon as he's ranked first on the list. Yang is shocked to hear this. He is thrown out and is left wondering how long it will take to get to the first place on the monthly contribution list. The protagonist feels relieved to have gotten rid of this kid, and in fact, the supreme technique of the feather can now be revealed, even without the divine sense of a cultivator of the soul formation realm. He had been preparing for this day for 10 years. However, the last 10 years spent strengthening the foundation of his cultivation to enhance his divine sense were a bonus. The main ingredient is one thing. Han opens a vial and drinks. There are a total of 9 pills. The more he consumes, the stronger the enhancement effect becomes. With this, a nascent soul realm cultivator can have the divine sense of a soul formation realm cultivator, and he thinks this is excellent. These pills do what they promised, and his divine sense has truly increased by 10 times. Now he will take a look at what this feather is. An extremely strong light is emitted from their location. Outside the cave, people walk and notice that this is the Pure Jade sect right in front of them. They wonder if they will be accepted, and being rejected is normal. Maka says he will welcome them and doesn't want to be rejected. They ask which of the 18 peaks is the strongest, saying the veteran will introduce them later. Mo thinks that being young is definitely charming, and it was the same when he joined the Pure Jade sect. Time flies. And now this uncle himself is in charge of recruiting new disciples. He keeps walking, thinking that these kids are all talented and well-mannered. This recruitment work is relatively easy, until someone hidden attacks. Fuchu notices and dodges. The attack causes an explosion. He thinks it's a curse, and the needle was made to spread a poisonous cloud. The attacks continue, and Mo tells them to fall back because someone is attacking them. A ninja approaches with his daggers. Fuchu glares at him and releases power, attacking him. Then he raises his arm while continuing to release energy, until he throws his opponent far away. Plasma is splattered. Mo widens his eyes and thinks he was careless and is attacked from behind, realizing his opponent wasn't alone. The children are scared seeing this scene. The enemy tells everyone to kneel and not move, as they only want Fuchu, and if anyone dares to stop them, they won't return alive. Mo asks who they are, thinking that attack pierced somewhere near his meridian, and he can't move. They say Constellation and Earth Fury, and that they are the ghosts with raincoats. And all they can say is that a great calamity will fall upon his sect, until they notice something. The children look surprised. Someone approaches with their mystical power from heaven and earth, calling them trash, asking how they dare try to capture disciples right in front of the pure Jade sect. The raincoat ghosts ask how he can be so colossal and say that maybe it's an illusion. The protagonist, with his intent to eliminate, thinks that this mystical power, the imitation of heaven and earth, is incredible, and the intimidation power has reached new heights, not to mention the destructive power. The only problem is acting freely because of the people close to him. Mo thinks this person seems familiar. Han moves quickly. People get very scared, saying they're on his side and that no, and if they're stepped on, the enemies say to take hostages to threaten him, as he won't dare to act recklessly, and ask if that person isn't from the pure Jade sect, and how can he do this against his own companions. Zhu attacks the opponents, pushing them away. Fuchu says to stop and not involve those children, as they are innocent. Mo lowers his head in fear, looks around, and wonders if it was just a bluff. He notices that the people have disappeared. Then, Fuchu looks to the other side and also doesn't see them, wondering where those people are and if they've all disappeared. The children are confused about what happened, saying they think someone helped them. They were very fast, and they couldn't see anything. Mo thinks that to be able to defeat 2 experts of the Golden Core realm in an instant, wonders who else it could be and asks why he's in the world of the moon, calling for him to heal him. The elder apologizes and says not to strain too much. Elsewhere, Lee is excited to see the special edition of the fairies, until someone enters by opening the door, and it's the protagonist, who throws the 2 enemies to the ground and says they wanted to kidnap Mo and will leave them with him. Qingzi notices their clothes and weapons and asks if these are the raincoat ghosts, saying she heard the twin swords eliminated many righteous cultivators. The Great Elder says that if his guess is right, these people are members of the Raincoat sect, and 1,000 years ago they tried to conquer the entire cultivation world of Great Yan. However, they were crushed by the union of the Orthodox sects for eliminating talented disciples from various sects. Now, they have reappeared and are capturing talented disciples from Orthodox sects. Lee says it seems they got information about themselves, and all the disciples they try to capture are talented, and suspects that the sect has spies. To be able to gather this kind of information, they are either from the Rising Sun Pavilion or veteran members of high positions. The Great Elder says that they can't jump to conclusions. This demon cult had been hidden for 1,000 years, but suddenly returned, and they must have some kind of purpose. Han asks how strong the Raincoat sect is and if they have any cultivators in the Void Amalgamation realm. The old man responds that they definitely have cultivators in the Soul Formation realm, but he's not sure about the Void Amalgamation realm. And getting straight to the point, Qingzi and he himself will personally visit several sects and unite all of them. During this time, they will leave the sect's safety in his hands. The system notifies about 2 choices: reject and leave the sect, or agree and continue cultivating while ensuring the sect's safety. Juo wonders if it's the youth pill, and if he won't need cosmetic arts anymore when he has this, and thinks it's tempting. He says he has no problem staying there. Lee says that's great, and he can rest easy knowing the Elder is protecting the sect. The protagonist thinks that as long as he doesn't have to go outside, everything is fine. The system notifies that the Great Elder and Qingzi's acceptance has increased to 4 stars. 6 years later, Han has advanced to the 5th level of the nascent soul realm, and his life expectancy has increased to 1080 years. He says it's not bad and finally passed 1,000, and it's been so long, and wonders why his disciple hasn't returned. He says it's too much to ask for him to stay in first place on the monthly contribution list, and will check the relationship to see if he's there. Jue observes and says it was to be expected that his disciple was captured, and thinks that usually when a disciple is in trouble, it's natural for his master to go save him. And no, because the abyss is a trap, and he has the feeling that some mysterious power is manipulating him, controlling his life, and forcing him to follow a dangerous path. This is definitely destiny, and he must fight against destiny and will never follow a dangerous path. He feels sorry as he's powerless, and all he can do is wish him good luck, and hopes he has a good life in his next life. The protagonist walks, saying he doesn't mind going outside, but as an elder, he still has to do something for the sect and must repay the favor the sect once gave him. He recalls Lee, who suspected that one of the elders might be a spy, and Han asks about a spy from the Raincoat sect inside the Pure Jade sect. Then he looks at the system and is left confused when he sees it is the former immortal Thunder Taoist. He says this man hid himself very well. He thinks back, realizing that no wonder. Back when the sect and the elders were saved, this man was the only one who didn't show any acceptance toward him. He had thought the man was just reserved, but in the end, he was a spy. Jue wonders what to do. Should he capture him or try to set up evidence? Since both the sect master and the Grand Elder are absent, the only person he can trust is... Elsewhere, the protagonist greets his master and says he discovered that there is a spy from the Raincoat sect among the elders, asking how they should deal with it. His master asks who it is. Han replies that it is the former immortal Thunder Taoist, thinking that he has no evidence and also cannot expose the system, so he must lie and say that someone came and told him about the Taoist. The fairy says to eliminate him. Jue is confused, wondering if she has some grudge against him, since she didn't even ask for evidence and only ordered his death. Xuan says she had suspected him for a long time, and since he also does, it must be true. They must not entrust this matter to the other elders and instead head directly to Thunder Peak. Smoke dissipates outside and the old Taoist approaches, saying he has come to pay a visit to the two elders. The protagonist points his sword at him and says they came to say farewell. On his journey to hell, he unleashes the Shadow Triple Sword technique and attacks. The Elder of Celestial Peak spits blood and asks what nonsense this is. Han replies that someone reported he was a secret deacon of the Raincoat sect and that the recent disappearances of disciples were also tied to him. And today, he will eradicate evil and avenge the disappearance of the Pure Jade sect's talented disciples. An explosion bursts forth. The old Taoist moves at lightning speed, 300 volts of light. Ju surrounds him with power and attacks again, using the Greater Chiliocosm Storm technique. The master thinks her disciple was so fast that she didn't even see when he struck, and whoever faces him will have no escape. The Celestial Peak Elder begs for mercy and says he will confess everything. The protagonist replies that of course he will have mercy by leaving the rest to his master, who uses the Taoist expulsion seal of the 9 dragons. Warriors approach, asking what happened and where their master is. The fairy replies that according to the eliminated elder, the former immortal Thunder Taoist was a spy of the Raincoat sect and was executed. The Thunder disciples must continue cultivating, and a new elder will be chosen once the sect master returns. Since he may be targeted by the Raincoat sect, they must avoid going out often during this period. The disciples ask how this is possible, whether their master was truly a spy, and if the Eliminator Elder got the wrong person. Elsewhere, someone slams his hand on a table, saying he worked hard for so many years, and now they say he was a spy. Where is the evidence? The elders say this is the storage ring of the Thunder Taoist, containing an item from the Raincoat sect. The sect's envoy used it to send letters to him and exchange information. Moreover, there were also posters of the Raincoat sect and equipment for demonic cultivators, and they even knew the color of his underwear. The old man says it's all thanks to the Eliminator Elder. Otherwise, who knows how much longer they would have been deceived. The elders ask if the Eliminator Elder isn't too terrifying, since even a 7th level nascent soul cultivator couldn't withstand 3 strikes. The old man says that person must never be provoked. Han lies down on the ground with his foot against a tree, saying it's fortunate the other elders are innocent. But with so many spies, what a mess this is. If just the Raincoat sect had 4 spies, and there are also spies from Orthodox sects and demonic sects, the rest must be from cultivation families. He wonders what the hell is happening in the Pure Jade sect, since it feels like a circus. It'll be troublesome to deal with them one by one, so he will memorize a few names and deal with them later, without alerting them now. The system notifies that it detected a bearer of innate providence, and asks if he wants to check the origin. Jue grumbles, wondering how that's possible, and when he compares, his disciple's bloodline seems like trash, and he wonders if this is real. A monk is passing by, and the protagonist calls out to him, telling him to wait a moment. He asks if he could give him some of those chicks. The monk replies that they are all meant for the inner sect. Han says not to worry, for he is the Divinity Eliminator Elder of the inner sect. If anyone asks, he can just say that he himself took the chick. The monk bows to him and says he's free to choose any he likes, and can take as many as he wants. Jue replies that it's not necessary, he only wants one. The one he takes is the Infernal Black Chicken, a saint demon from the upper world reincarnated, whose true form is an infernal black phoenix. For having slaughtered many, it offended the celestial court and was executed. Its soul slipped through the 6 paths of reincarnation and was reborn in the mortal realm. Elsewhere, his master calls him senior brother and says they finally returned, looking happy, and asks how the journey was. Jingzi, badly injured, says he has no more regrets in life and asks if anything happened during their absence. The Great Elder, also severely wounded, says she flatters him, It's the first time he's seen her worried for the two of them. The fairy then recounts what happened with the former immortal thunder Taoist. Later, elsewhere, Li says to tell him where he died, for he will desecrate the body. A system notification announces that the sect master has returned, has succeeded in keeping the sect safe during the absence, and will receive a spell manual and a jar of cultivation pills from the mud formation realm, and congratulates him for obtaining the wind god technique, as well as a jar of spiritual chi gathering pills from the soul formation realm. The protagonist is moving his hands around the chicken, trying to gather chi, which in the future could be used to sate hunger. He places his hand on its head and says, "This is difficult, and soon it will devour all the treasures in the cave dwelling." Xing says he doesn't need to worry. She gathered many treasures while adventuring and has already finished planting them. And not only that, she has another little gift for him, and asks if he knows what it is. Han says he'll try to guess, asking if it's a storage ring. The redhead answers that he's right and explains that when she left the sect to train with her elder brother and sister last month, they came across a battle between an orthodox sect, the Crimson Peak sect, and a demonic sect, the Blue Dragon sect. She took the storage ring while helping the Crimson Peak cultivators repel the Blue Dragon cultivators. She asks if he sees now. There's much to be gained by venturing out, and with enough strength, the journey would certainly be smooth. Ju tells her to forget it, that she can keep the storage ring. All he wants is a peaceful life. The redhead says he needs to face reality, that the Pure Jade sect won't shield him forever, and there are countless sects out there stronger than theirs. The protagonist asks what rank the Pure Jade sect holds within the cultivation world of Great Yan. Xing replies that the Great Yan cultivation world has more than 20 sects, 12 of which are orthodox sects, and the Pure Jade sect should be among the top 5. Han thinks only within the top 5, and no wonder the sect has so many enemies. The redhead says that currently, most sects don't differ much in strength, nor is there even a true ranking, and there's no need to hold a tournament to decide one. Perhaps it will be difficult for him to live a peaceful, low-profile life, since recently an influential figure has emerged from the Crimson Bird Sword sect. His name is Huang, and once, while still only in the Golden Core realm, he slew an ancient monster of the nascent Soul realm. She fears that by now, he may have reached the Soul Formation realm. A rumor says he intends to challenge all sects in the Great Yan cultivation world, and she asks what they'll do if he comes to the Pure Jade sect, and not to say he'll just hide and do nothing. Jue wonders what the Divinity Eliminator Elder has to do with him, and why battle-crazed maniacs are everywhere. As for this Huang or whoever, he already killed someone before when challenging other sects. The redhead replies she thinks not, since the Crimson Bird Sword sect is an orthodox sect. The protagonist realizes something and thinks then he can rest easy, for old Huang is welcome to come to him anytime and he'll gladly greet him. Meanwhile, the chicken moves after a worm. 1 year later, a member of the Raincoat sect says he has been there for a month and wonders why the old Thunderman hasn't shown up yet and if something happened to him. And he thinks that he would have infiltrated the Pure Jade sect a long time ago if not for the presence of the Divinity Eliminator Elder. He had heard that the Divinity Eliminator Elder was cruel and would even beat a stray dog crossing his path. However, there were also rumors that he was an extremely cautious man, unlike anyone seen before. If those traits were real, he wanted to see him fight the sect leader. Then someone approaches him and asks if he is a member of the Raincoat sect. It is Han, who introduces himself as the personal disciple of the former Immortal Thunder Taoist. He thinks the system is amazing, for it occasionally scans the surroundings for experts without exposing him to danger, and says that not long ago, the Thunder Taoist was targeted by the sect leader, so he cannot leave the sect. That's why he asked to come meet him. Sandline quickly moves to attack, saying that this is not their secret code, and no one knows the true identities, not even the spies. The pressure in the place intensifies. Skills are unleashed. Yes spits blood and wonders what is happening, as he cannot break through the defense. What was that strike? He had only seen the sect leader wield such power. Who is this man? He asks if Han is only at the 9th level of Foundation Establishment. How could he be this strong? He thinks about the 9th level of Foundation Establishment, and before he can finish, Jue cuts him off, saying that yes, that's exactly what he is. Sandlang moves, thinking they will need to mobilize half their high-ranking reinforcements if they want to deal with the Divinity Eliminator Elder, and that he must deliver this information at any cost. But then he senses something strange. His body is completely destroyed, leaving only a spiritual essence. Ye wonders if he became a spiritual essence before even realizing it and thinks no wonder the sect leader always said, this is all his fault. Then another strike approaches, and he pleads not to do it, surrendering and giving up. The protagonist says it's fine, but he must start talking, asking what the true intention of the Raincoat sect is, and what they are planning by kidnapping so many talents. Sandlang explains that before assimilating a sect, they first abduct all its talented disciples and confine them in a concentration camp. After the sect is destroyed, these talents will have nowhere to go and no choice but to join the Raincoat sect. Han asks if they are targeting only the pure Jade sect or the entire cultivation world. Ye replies it is the entire cultivation world. Jue calls them bold and asks whether their sect has a cultivator in soul formation or void amalgamation. Sanlang replies that they do have soul formation cultivators, but as for void amalgamation, he does not know. The protagonist also asks why the Raincoat sect hides in the shadows if they are so strong, and where the talented disciples are imprisoned. Ye replies that he truly does not know. He is only an ordinary deacon. Sanlang is very nervous. Han wonders if he is really just a mere deacon while being at the 7th level of nascent soul and if the Raincoat sect is trying to fool everyone. Ye begs to be released, promising never to do this again. The system notifies that the enemy has developed 6-star hatred against him. Jue thinks that means he has given up on life. He says it's fine, he can go to hell. A massive explosion follows. Elsewhere, Xing says she obtained another storage ring and will take it to her husband. The elder says that this is no ordinary ring as it carries the aura of nascent soul. 2 years later, the black chicken is still there. Li says he needs his help with something. The protagonist tells him to speak. Qingzi explains that he discovered the Raincoat sect imprisoned those disciples. However, the terrain is easy to defend and hard to attack. When the time comes, they will fight them head-on while he launches a surprise attack from behind. Han says he thinks this plan is not good, asking what if this is only a distraction the moment he leaves the sect? What if the Raincoat sect sends a soul formation cultivator to attack? Does he think he can stop them? Besides, if a nascent soul expert can be just a deacon in the Raincoat sect, it will be difficult to handle them. Li admits that's true, but says there's no choice. He will do it himself and leaves the sect's safety in Han's hands. Ju says not to worry. Unless a void amalgamation arrives, no one will be able to defeat the pure Jade sect. Qingzi says that's excellent and counts on him. The protagonist thinks that to be absolutely sure, it's better to test his limits. In the simulated challenge training ground, Han says he will set Xiao aside for now and instead try Duan Tongtian, and to adjust his cultivation to the 9th level of soul formation. Han thinks that last time he didn't give him a chance, but this time he will let him come at full force. He begins to fight the simulated opponent. Attacks are unleashed. The simulated challenge ends, and Jue realizes it was a draw. He only managed a tie against a 9th level soul formation cultivator. If it had been a void amalgamation, it would have been impossible. This won't do. He needs to enter secluded cultivation immediately. He thinks that first, he will confirm the Raincoat sect's movements and hopes his dear disciple can endure, that his master is working hard to cultivate, and once he is confident enough, he will save him. Elsewhere, the Raincoat sect is asking why Sanlang hasn't returned and if something happened to him. They say it's impossible. He is an expert at the 7th level of nascent soul, and aside from the Divinity Eliminator Elder, no one in the pure Jade sect could notice him. Moreover, everything is being coordinated from inside and out. They wonder who the spy is, since they have no idea. Only Ye knows, and aside from the sect leader, each spy has only one person to maintain contact with. Voices rise saying that is the problem. The sect leader is too cautious. In their opinion, it would be better to destroy the pure Jade sect outright. If those disciples refuse to obey, they can simply be eliminated. Suddenly, someone arrives, breaking down the door. They rush toward him, asking who he is. A voice replies, asking if this is all they have, saying it's not even worth drawing his sword. He introduces himself as Huang Jihao of the Crimson Bird Sword sect, saying he wants to challenge the Raincoat sect and demands to know where their headquarters is. The Raincoat sect members wonder how this calamity found them, suggesting they let the sect leader teach him a lesson. They warn that he must be joking if he doesn't know the leader's personality. He will skin them alive first. Huang goes to draw his sword and they quickly tell him to stop. They explain their leader is in seclusion at the moment and will not appear for now. They suggest instead that he go challenge the pure Jade sect first. If he defeats a certain person there, they will reveal the sect leader's location. Jihao asks about the pure Jade sect and this person. To challenge the pure Jade sect? He says there's no worthy opponent there anymore, so why would he fight such a ruined sect? The Raincoat sect member insists the pure Jade sect isn't what it used to be. Recently, an incredible figure appeared there, known as the Divinity Eliminator Elder. He killed a soul formation expert in a single strike. His power is immeasurable, and Huang might even find him interesting. Huang says he once fought the pure Jade sect's master and great elder, whose strength was mediocre, and he has never heard of this Divinity Eliminator Elder before. He warns them not to dare lie to him. The Raincoat sect members swear it's true, telling him to ask around, reminding him that even the inferior Viridescent cult collapsed because of him. Jihao says they must tell him the location of the Raincoat sect's master first, but in the meantime, he will challenge the pure Jade sect, and afterward, the Raincoat sect's master will be next. In the end, they comply to stay alive. Elsewhere, Chang arrives at his cave saying she's come to visit again, asking to give him a hug. She embraces the black chicken and asks when he adopted such a pet, saying it's so big and soft. The protagonist tells her to stop touching it, that it's his precious mount, and asks how she plans to compensate him if she ruins it with her arms. Yue asks if it isn't strange to use a chicken as a mount. She admits, though, that his face, along with his demeanor, always makes her feel satisfied whenever she looks at him. She wonders how incredible his parents must be, saying they must be unmatched. Han replies that his parents were just ordinary people. More than a century has passed, so by now they must be dead. He thinks that blood ties ended that moment they abandoned him and fled. As for missing them, that's impossible. Even Elder Iron was more responsible for him than they ever were. He tells her to stop talking about them and asks why she came. Chang asks if he knows Elder Guan, saying he is the third senior brother of their master. Jue replies that he doesn't. Yue explains that 300 years ago, the Great Elder sent him away from the sect to seek refuge after offending someone. Not long ago, he sent a letter saying he would return soon, and she asks if none of the elders told him. The protagonist says it has nothing to do with him anyway. Chang says she heard Elder Guan is returning this time to compete for the position of Sect Master. Han replies that this is Sect Master Li's problem, and he should be the one to deal with it. And Yue insists, saying there's a rumor that Elder Guan likes their master. He might even become her Dao companion. Ju grows interested and asks how strong Elder Guan is. Chang replies that she heard he obtained an opportunity outside of Great Yan and has now reached the Soul Formation realm. All the elders are celebrating since the sect finally has an expert. The sect master is the only one who doesn't know why he was sent away. The protagonist says he understands and tells her she can go ahead. He asks her to deliver a message to Sect Master Li, saying he will do his best to defend his position as Sect Master. Yue runs off, saying she understands. Han thinks things are becoming troublesome. He won't be able to avoid a confrontation with Elder Guan, and the problem is how to resolve it peacefully for his master's sake. But there's an even greater problem. Specifically, this innate providence detector system has been active for half a day already. He wonders if this guy couldn't just leave and cultivate in peace. Why must he insist on challenging every sect? Then he receives a system notification, offering two options: order the entire sect to surround and annihilate Huang to secure victory, or discreetly repel Huang without drawing too much attention. Jue says that seeing as this mission notification has been triggered, he believes Huang is approaching. Better safe than sorry. First, he'll test it in the simulated challenge. Later, the system notifies that the target has been defeated in 2 minutes, asking if he wants to restart. The protagonist says to proceed. Another notification arrives saying the target was defeated in 2 minutes and asks again if he wants to restart. Han admits he can't eliminate him instantly. He thinks that's just as expected of a sword heart, and to think that he could withstand for more than 2 minutes. This won't do. The fight drags on too long and it's too noisy. It will be difficult to avoid drawing attention. He thinks he doesn't have much time. He must stop him before he reaches the sect. Otherwise, it will be hard to handle discreetly once he's there. That's the only way, but it will depend on Huang's personality. Elsewhere, Jihao is walking. He stops when he notices a silhouette nearby, wondering if someone at the 9th level of Foundation establishment was there all along. How did he not notice? He thinks this boy is interesting. A pleasant, delicate, and slender figure. Soft lips, smooth yet daring. Silky hair that exudes youthful pheromones. He wonders if this is what true elegance is. Huang stares at him and blushes. The system notifies that he has developed a favorable impression of him, with current acceptance at 2 stars. The protagonist notices the man approaching and wonders where this acceptance came from when he hasn't done anything yet. Jihao says he feels an affinity toward him and asks if he'd be interested in accepting him as his master, saying he could easily reach nascent soul in the future. Han wonders about this affinity and thinks he should stop. He's not that kind of person. He questions if something went wrong with his unmatched charm and why it always seems to attract men. He asks who he is and why he came to the Pure Jade sect. Huang gives his name, saying he is from the Crimson Bird Sword sect, and asks if he has never heard of him. He says he came to challenge the Divinity Eliminator Elder of the Pure Jade sect. Jue asks why he came specifically to challenge him, and what about the other people of the sect? Jihao replies that he already defeated the Sect Master and the Great Elder before. Originally, he didn't want to deal with them and planned to challenge the Raincoat sect instead. However, they insisted that he challenge the Divinity Eliminator Elder instead, claiming that the Elder is qualified enough to be his opponent rather than the Raincoat sect's master. The system notifies that the protagonist has developed hatred toward the Raincoat sect, current hatred at 6 stars. He asks how strong the Raincoat sect's master is, saying the Divinity Eliminator Elder may not be as strong as him. Huang answers that the sect master of that sect is mysterious, and even he doesn't know much about it. Han asks how confident he is. Jihao asks why he's asking these questions and whether he'll accept him as his master or not. Jue thinks he's becoming impatient and that it's time to proceed with the plan. He says he agrees to accept him as his master, but on one condition. If he can take 1 strike, he will acknowledge him as his master. Huang calls him a brat and asks if he has never heard of his name, but he says fine, he'll take one strike. If the boy can wound him, even slightly, he will leave this place and never return to bother the pure Jade sect again. He gives his word. The protagonist says that if he allows it, then Han draws his sword. Jihao observes and thinks that this sword is no ordinary weapon, yet he's only at the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. He wonders where he obtained such a treasure. Jue asks if he's ready and attacks without hesitation. Huang feels the intense spiritual energy and thinks he can't endure it anymore, so he summons the wind barrier. The protagonist unleashes the celestial punishment of the Phantom Divinity Sword, producing immense pressure. Jihao grips his sword and tries to block the strike with it until his eyes widen. He's blown back but manages to leap and stop himself from hitting the ground, wondering what kind of sword technique that was. He thinks no, it wasn't a technique but a mystical spell. Han says it's just as expected of him. His reaction speed is incredible. He asks if the famous Huang would go back on his word. Jihao asks if he dares trick him. Jue says he did warn him. Huang says whatever, that last attack, he couldn't have withstood even if it wasn't a trick, and asks who he is. The protagonist replies that he was the one who came looking for him, so why ask who he is now? Jihao widens his eyes, then closes them, saying he already said he would never return to the Pure Jade sect, but will wait until he leaves the sect to challenge him again. Han wonders if he really intends to wait outside the Pure Jade sect and if he's sure he can. Huang walks away thinking he's damned and daring to trick him. He thinks he was reckless and reacted too slowly otherwise, until someone asks who he is and why he's coming from the Pure Jade sect, saying his movements are suspicious and he must be a bandit. Jihao asks what that has to do with him and tells him to get lost. The warrior says those elders might think better of him if he drags him back there, asking who he thinks he is. The warrior throws several swords toward his opponent, saying that he had been worried for nothing with nowhere to vent his anger. Afterward, the system notifies that he secretly defeated Huang and obtained a numinous treasure. It congratulates him for acquiring a 6th class numinous treasure, the Burning Demon Bell. It's a treasure that can defend against all attacks below the Void Amalgamation realm. He can wear the divine mantle inside and cover it with the Burning Demon Bell outside. Ju says the world is his now, and he'll see who dares challenge him, until he hears someone asking if he's there. He thinks that voice belongs to his master, who actually took the initiative to come visit him. The protagonist asks why she didn't send a message, since he would have gone to visit her. The fairy says not to worry about that and asks if Yue has told him about her elder brother Guan. Han replies that she mentioned him before. Zhuan says he returned yesterday, but on his way to the Pure Jade sect, he crossed paths with Huang and was gravely wounded. Ju thinks that's just as expected of Jihao, saying he must be unlucky. His master says misery loves company, and in truth, Guan was defeated by Huang even while Huang was injured. Moreover, an unknown sword she destroyed a nearby forest. She thinks Huang came to challenge the Pure Jade sect but was repelled by him. The protagonist admits that's what happened and asks if she came here to make him take responsibility for the destruction. The fairy says not at all, she just didn't expect the famous Huang to be defeated by someone younger than him. This time, she came hoping he could help suppress her brother Guan. Han asks about suppressing Guan. Zhuan explains that the sect master may be weaker than Elder Han, but he worked tirelessly for the Pure Jade sect, even willing to slow his cultivation for its sake. It would be disheartening if he were stripped of his position. As sect master, he has given much, while her brother only seeks revenge against him and doesn't care for the sect at all. Once his wounds heal, he'll come and challenge him, and he can only become sect master if he defeats him. She asks what he thinks. Jue replies that he personally has no issue, but hopes the battle can be conducted discreetly. His master says she doesn't even need to be told, as she will also help her elder brother Guan maintain his reputation. She then asks if he's raising a chick too, saying it looks very impressive. The protagonist answers that since secluded cultivation is rather boring, he brought this little bird along for company. The fairy asks if even he feels bored and why he doesn't work and rest properly. She adds that it reminded her the immortal domain gathering, which only happens once every few centuries, is about to begin. Han asks about the immortal domain gathering. Zhuan replies that it's a fair where equipment, pills, treasures, and even cultivation techniques can be traded, as long as one has enough resources, and asks if he wants to go. Jue thanks her for the kind intentions, but says all he wants is seclusion. He's not in the mood to go out on adventures. Elsewhere, a voice asks if he couldn't withstand a single strike from him. Huang replies that he also refuses to believe it, but it's the truth. At the Crimson Bird Sword sect, a voice says this is ridiculous. Besides himself, he's the strongest in the sect. Jihao says that man's spiritual energy was overwhelmingly dominant, the first time he had ever seen such spiritual energy. Moreover, Tang asked what it was. Huang says that person was very charming and that there's no one in the sect as handsome as him. The sect master asks if that's important. Jihao admits it actually isn't. And there's another important matter. The Raincoat sect still has its sights on the Pure Jade sect, and he has decided he will challenge the Raincoat sect's master once he recovers. Tang says, "Them again?" Even though they've been devastated for thousands of years. Well, in a river with piranhas, even an alligator swims on its back. Earlier, the great elder of the Pure Jade sect came to us, hoping we could join forces to repel the Raincoat sect. However, I refused, because the Raincoat sect will never cease to exist unless that man is eliminated. Huang asked who that man is. The sect master of the Crimson Bird Sword sect answers that it's the Raincoat sect's master. When he was young, he was as fearless as Huang. By a twist of fate, he fell into the demonic path and became the master of the Raincoat sect. The Grand Master said that the Raincoat sect's master was the strongest of his era, and Huang can test his strength this time. But he must not be reckless and should refuse immediately if he cannot defeat him. Jihao says not to worry. He may be arrogant, but he's not a fool. 6 years later, the protagonist thinks that Yang's and Zhou's cultivation actually improved after being captured. Their identities haven't changed. Perhaps they're only pretending to have compromised with the sect. The sect master is pitiful. He's either being attacked or walking into ambushes. The chick calls out to him, asking what the outside world looks like, saying it really wants to go out and see the other side of the mountain. Han thinks that the infernal black chicken is growing rapidly. Its strength is already close to the 8th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. If it were human, no one could match such cultivation speed. On top of that, its intelligence is developing, and it has grown curious about the outside world. He tells it that the outside world is dangerous, that many people out there want to eat it, and asks if it understands. He says all those places are off limits, and it must keep in mind that it cannot go there. It must become invincible before leaving, otherwise it will surely die. He warns it not even to think about venturing out. The black chicken becomes frightened, telling him to stop talking. It doesn't want to go out anymore. Jue thinks the brainwashing was a success, until someone approaches, saying something terrible happened. The Maple Leaf Valley was destroyed by the Raincoat sect. It's Li saying that before the sect master of the valley died, he revealed that the Raincoat sect has at least 10 soul formation cultivators, enough to sweep through the entire cultivation world of Great Yan. There's a high chance their next target will be the Pure Jade sect. Qingzi asks what he's doing. The protagonist grabs the basket, his chicken, and his pouch, saying that he's acting so quickly during a crisis, he's so reliable, and that he was right about him. He asks why he isn't fleeing too. Li looks shocked. The two fall silent. Han asks again why he isn't fleeing, telling him to stop pestering him. Qingzi asks what he's talking about and whether that's something he should be saying, reminding him that he came to warn him to prepare in advance, not to run away. Besides, where could they flee? There are so many disciples, and even if they managed to escape, there's nowhere for them. Those sects would finish them off anyway. The Pure Jade sect would still be annihilated. Zhu thinks that as long as everyone stays alive, it's fine, even if the Pure Jade sect is destroyed. He realizes he underestimated how important the sect is to them. Then he receives a system notification giving him two options: flee immediately, wandering the world while hunted by the Raincoat sect, or protect the sect. People live only once, and he cannot run forever. After defeating the Raincoat sect, he can obtain a numinous treasure. The protagonist reflects on where he could possibly flee to. Constantly running and wandering the world isn't the kind of life he wants. He wonders if perhaps he should join them if he cannot defeat them. But no, that wouldn't be simply standing still. That would be cowardice. He says that just a moment ago Li told him he was only warning him in advance, and asks if that means they aren't coming yet. Li replies that it will take some time for them to clean up the mess at Maple Leaf Valley. In the meantime, they have at most a decade. Han puts a hand on his shoulder and asks why the Pure Jade sect keeps being targeted by others, saying that he used to believe the sect was formidable and had elevated it to a level it didn't deserve. Qingzi says the truth is that the only truly strong person in the sect is the ancestral founder, who left 500 years ago without any news. If he were here, the Raincoat sect wouldn't dare attack. 1,000 years ago, he destroyed the Raincoat sect once and made its sect master question his very existence. Jue asks if, in other words, the Raincoat sect is here for revenge. Li replies that isn't important. His master and he already used the treasure left by the founder to contract him. Once the founder returns, the Raincoat sect will no longer be a problem. They just need to be strong and survive this crisis. If they can endure it, there will be no more threats in the future, and he will be able to continue cultivating peacefully in seclusion. The protagonist says he will go with them to deal with the Raincoat sect, but makes it very clear. If they cannot win, he will flee immediately. Qingzi says that's fine. No problem. If they cannot win, he won't force him to stay and die with them. Han says that under that condition, he's decided to follow the Pure Jade sect. He then asks Sect Master Li if there are any pills in the sect suitable for a nascent soul cultivator. Li says they are lacking an alchemist in the Pure Jade sect, so he'll have to resolve that himself. Jue says goodbye, but Qingzi calls out, asking if he didn't just say he would follow the pure jade sect. The protagonist replies that he was joking. He's going to buy a beast taming bag, thinking it will be easier to escape that way. He asks the chick if it saw that, saying that even if they don't cause trouble, enemies will come hoping to eliminate them. The black chicken asks what he thinks about secretly fleeing the sect. Han replies that's not a bad idea, saying it's learned well from him. The chick asks if they really are fleeing. Jui says to wait and see first. In the inner city of the main peak, the black chicken is inside a bag carried by the protagonist. People look at him. The system notifies, bearer of innate providence detected. Check origin? Han wonders again about this innate providence and thinks that the pure jade sect must truly be a sect of providences. The system displays Qing Jun, third level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Her true identity, the mortal vessel of the Demon Lord. It also shows various data about her. Jue feels dizzy, realizing that if she can ascend, it means she's at least a Mahayana cultivator. He wonders if it's her. He thinks there's only one girl around, so it must be her. A girl with enchanting beauty. A man with glasses tells others to back off, saying she's his wife. A spiky-haired man asks if he really thinks she'd be interested in a monkey-faced guy like him and tells him to stop spouting nonsense. The two start arguing and fighting. The girl looks on and thinks it's boring, that this should be enough traveling and experiencing life. A subtle aura emanates from her. She glances to the side and smiles, thinking she'll stay there a bit longer. The system notifies that she is Qing Jun, and she has developed favorability toward him because of his face. The protagonist thinks he had been planning to flee discreetly to avoid unnecessary trouble, and never imagined that his unparalleled charm would cause problems again. Qing keeps staring at him, and her acceptance of him rises further. Han uses the wind god technique to move quickly. The black chicken mentions that woman's expression and asks if she's trying to eat him, saying the outside world really is dangerous. Jue says good thing he understood. Jun looks at the inscription in his cave and says, this boy is interesting, but those 5 words make sense, which makes her even more interested in him. She prefers to save the best dish for last and says she'll come visit him again. She says goodbye. The protagonist feels relieved, saying she finally left and thinks she probably couldn't find the entrance because of the formation barrier. It's giving him a headache. Forget the Raincoat sect now, another demon has appeared. She may appear to be just a Foundation Establishment cultivator, but he's certain she hides immense power. That's problematic. The black chicken complains that it's cramped inside and asks if they can return that beast-taming bag. Han thinks he hopes she forgets about him. 7 years later, Jue reflects that progress is too slow. He won't be able to reach his goal if he doesn't advance to the Soul Formation realm before the Raincoat sect's master arrives. Then he checks the system and wonders why Li was attacked by a sect member. He remembers checking before. None of the pure jade sect's nascent soul cultivators were spies. But wait, he had forgotten about Guan. Maybe his guess was right. Guan hadn't dared challenge the Divinity Eliminator Elder, so he gave up on becoming Sect Master. Still, he was furious, and went after Li for a martial duel, using it as a chance to vent his anger. Han notices that his master doesn't seem to have suffered any problems. Then someone calls out asking if he's there and if they may visit. Jue wonders if it's Qing again if she's returned. Over the past 7 years, she has visited twice and was turned away both times, but she never forced her way in. He doesn't think she has bad intentions. But the third time is the charm. If he keeps ignoring her, he fears she may eliminate him. Jin says he finally came. The bird says no and begs her not to eat its master. Ju smacks it, introduces himself, and politely asks why this Dao companion has come to visit his humble abode. Qing introduces herself, giving her name, and says she is a disciple of the Jade Bamboo Peak. Years ago, she happened to cross paths with him in the inner sect and was struck by his greatness. From that moment, his appearance was engraved in her heart. She hopes he will forgive her for this unexpected visit, praising his beauty as unmatched in the world. The protagonist thanks her for the compliments and asks if she can leave now since there's nothing more to discuss. Jin shows him an item, saying there's no rush. She's willing to offer him a treasure and hopes he won't reject it. Han asks what it is. Qing replies that it's the token of the Celestial Immortal Abode. The Celestial Immortal Abode is a sacred cultivation land, and one can only enter it with this token. Anyone who cultivates there will at minimum reach the nascent soul realm. She thinks he won't be able to resist the temptation, and she'll definitely win over that beautiful face of his. Ju thanks her kindness, but says he doesn't want to leave the Pure Jade sect. He has decided to spend his life cultivating there. Jin is surprised and asks if he's truly not interested. She says not to worry, she has something else. The Earth Spirit Sword, which can easily slay a Golden Core expert. The protagonist still insists on leaving. Qing asks if that's still not enough, then offers another jar of pills to advance to the Golden Core realm. Han says nothing, just stares at her. Jin says she'll also give him a body-tempering cultivation technique, plus 3 spell techniques and more besides. Ju tells her to stop right there. To speak the truth, he's already in the nascent soul realm. He reveals his hidden cultivation. Qing is shocked. realizing he's at the 8th level of nascent soul and asks if he is the divinity eliminator elder. The protagonist asks if she can keep that a secret. Her favorability rises to 4 stars. Jin says she understands and that his current needs are clear. She presents him with a first-class nascent soul pill, saying it can help him break through to the soul formation realm. She asks if 1 jar is enough. If not, she can give him another. Han thinks she's filthy rich. He asks what her background is. Ching replies that her identity isn't important. What she hopes for is to become his Dao companion, and asks if he'd like to consider it. Jue says that for her to display so many treasures, it means she's not someone simple. He wonders if she would help him deal with the Raincoat sect. Jin answers that she cannot. All she cares about is him. The protagonist thinks, as expected, it's not so easy to order around a demon lord. He asks what price he must pay if he accepts her request. Ching replies that the price is to cultivate together and grow stronger together, asking if he doesn't want that. The system notifies him with 2 options. First, reject, gaining the demon lord's hatred, and receiving a mystical Dao sword inheritance. Or second, accept, becoming Dao companions, bound by karma and providence, gaining the demon lord's favor and a mystical inheritance. Han wonders if the system is doing this on purpose, noticing the font sizes are even different. Elsewhere, a member of the Raincoat sect walks down a corridor, swinging his whip. Striking the boy bound in chains, he says that these 2 from the Pure Jade sect are far too stubborn. They escape every year and refuse to give up even when captured and beaten. He tells them to just eliminate them already. One of the others asks how their sect is supposed to win them over if they kill them. They grumble that it's annoying, that they're tired of beating them. Enough already. They'll grab something to eat and have someone drag them back to their cell. Joe thinks that if he ever reaches enlightenment in the future, he will surely wipe out everyone from the Raincoat sect. Yang asks if that was his plan all along and says they were caught before they even made it outside. Fan asks who would expect to run into someone training a lizard on the roof. Tian tells them to stop resisting and just wait for their master to come save them. Fan says his master is the divinity eliminator elder, and though it hurts to admit it, he isn't coming. Yang says that's nonsense. Their master is extremely powerful. No one in the Pure Jade sect can compare to him, and asks who else could show up if not him. Joe replies that it's true, their master is powerful and has top-tier talent, but he fears the end. Tian asks if that isn't true, saying their master is incredible, and he's sure he's already there, perhaps watching from the shadows to see if he can endure this tribulation, and if his Dao heart is stable enough. Fan thinks it's better not to tell him otherwise. Let the kid at least hold on to a shred of hope. Elsewhere, the system notifies that he has obtained a mystical power, Somersaulting Mist, a maneuver-type ability that can transport the user over 1,000,000 kilometers in a single move. Ching says that from now on, he is her Dao companion, reminding him to cultivate diligently and that she will come find him when she needs him. Her favorability toward him rises. The protagonist thinks guiltily that the number of pills she's given him is excessive, saying he's no longer pure. The bird asks if she still plans to eat him. Han takes the pill and tells it not to speak ill of his Dao companion. Then his eyes widen, and energy surges around his body. Jue realizes that this first-class nascent soul pill has such a domineering effect that his 6-path spiritual chi has been completely purified. The absorption rate that had stagnated for so many years is now accelerating again. Just a piece of the pill surpasses what he could have achieved in 100 days. Even so, he knows he can't rely too much on pills. He must be steady, firm, and cultivate daily to prevent his chi from dissipating. He resolves to continue like this. His advance to the soul formation realm is already very close. 2 years later, Ju thanks the Demon Lord for her generosity. He's now just 1 step away from soul formation. He orders the system to initiate the simulated challenge as always. The system notifies that the self-detection is complete. The strongest person in the Pure Jade sect is Guan, 2nd level of soul formation. The protagonist thinks this is excellent. There has been no movement from the Raincoat sect yet, and he still has time to advance to soul formation. He goes to the realm of 10,000 demons to watch over the cave dwelling, until someone calls out saying his timing is perfect, bringing good news. Truly good news. Han looks at him battered and thinks it doesn't look like good news judging by his condition. Li says that Huang went to challenge the Raincoat sect's master and was captured. This angered the Crimson Bird Sword sect, and they decided to join forces to attack the Raincoat sect. The situation has turned in their favor. Li says he loves that man after so many years of causing trouble. He finally did something right. Jue says Jihao is excellent. Qingzi says that's why he wants to invite him. The protagonist feels a bad premonition. He interrupts, saying he knows what he means, asking if he wants to bring Elder Guan, but fears it might affect the sect. Li says that's not what he meant. Han says he can bring all the elders. He alone is enough to protect the Pure Jade sect. Qingzi thinks he isn't exactly discreet. Ju whispers in his ear that he will soon break through to soul formation. That's why he needs more time. Li says he understands. He can advance in peace and leave the Raincoat sect to them. It's encouraging, and since he could kill a soul formation cultivator when he was only at nascent soul if he advances further, even better. The protagonist agrees, tells him to leave, and hopes all goes well. In the realm of 10,000 demons, Han thinks he's heard that the breakthrough to soul formation is deafening and can draw attackers. Since that's the case, the realm of 10,000 demons is the best place to advance. He surveys the area and says that today he must advance to soul formation. Lightning begins to surge, producing deafening sounds. Animals flee in terror. The lightning grows more intense and powerful until a bolt shoots directly at him. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content. Thank you.